Introducing the Corpus Christi 2023 Health and Wellness Conference and Expo, presented by Changelfe. Enlighten yourself and listen as local professionals bring you current information on how to become a more healthy version of yourself in 2023. And now, welcome to the stage, your host, Cynthia Gonzalez.
Taking steps towards good health. That's what we're doing. We're taking steps towards good health.
Good morning, everybody. I just want to first say thank you for everybody for coming out today. I know it is an early Saturday morning. Some people drove from a long way. My sister's over there in the house too. We got Jacqueline from Houston, right? Yeah. So what I want you to do is just open your minds up, right, to receive the information. I got some very good professionals that have some really good information to share with you guys. So I just want you to open your minds. Some of it you may not have heard before, but it is guaranteed to work, right? We've got pictures of what we do. We've got presentations. So all of the information we provide today is information that's solid, that has worked not only with us, but with a lot of our clients. So just open your mind to that and just receive what we got going on today.
Thank you for allowing us to be here. I am talking about skincare. My name is Dr. Karlene Lynn, and oh my gosh, you're in the right place at the right time. You are very important. You are the smart people in town because you are here. Okay? So give yourself a hand. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. I am going to move forward because we got some good speakers coming up behind me. A little bit about myself. I am a research chemist. At the moment, I am a professor of chemistry at Delcambre College, and I've been there for, who is counting? Roughly 14 years or so. I am excited. I am the wife of Mr. Ephraim Lynn. He will be speaking later on, and the mom of my favorite daughter, Karlene Flowers, who was blessed right here in St. John by Pastor Reaves. She just recently graduated from Texas A&M. Super duper proud mom of a graduate with a biomedical sciences degree. And finally, about me, I could tell you a lot about me, but hey, we're going to talk about skin today. I am a proud boss babe, a proud Mary Kay sales director, not just a sales director, but a pink Cadillac sales director, the first black woman in Corpus Christi to earn a pink Cadillac. I am speaking loud because I'm proud, and many, many, many of my supporters are here today. So thank you so very much for always blessing me with your prayers, your smiles, your waves, your purchases. Thank you so very much. So skincare, why skincare? Well, guess what? It's your first barrier to what's on the inside. It's your biggest organ. It is your biggest organ. If we weren't wearing all these clothes, it's the first thing that interacts with the next person. It is so important for health. It's important in our respiratory system. Okay, it's important barrier to diseases. So we should take care of it, right? The next thing is beauty. I mean, I could go on and on, right? But beauty, I mean, who wants to be beautiful? Or who even believe they're beautiful? I hope you all believe you're beautiful. All right, so your skin plays an important role in that. And it also brings out your confidence. I remember as a 30-something-year-old with a young baby having a whole full face of acne. Can you imagine that? My confidence was down here, although I was fairly confident on the inside. So what you project on the outside is important to all that you do. And of course, your skincare is important in preventing all kinds of stuff. I mean, who wants wrinkles? Raise your hands if you want wrinkles. All right now, okay? All right, who wants blotchy skin, uneven skin? Okay, dryness, all of that. So very, very important. So what's included in a good skincare system? Okay, system, and I did say system, includes cleansing your face morning and night. Okay, and if you go about cutting the yard and running, 20 miles like my husband and I used to do at one time, I shouldn't say that, right? Because all the exercise people are here. At this time, normally we are coming back from a 20-mile run. Yeah, we used to run marathons. Yeah, Christian, don't look too hard at me. Yeah, I used to run like marathons like crazy. I ran the road in Corpus at one time. I'll get back to it. Yes, cleansing twice per day with the right cleanser for your skin. Everyone has unique type of skin, whether it's dry, combination, blah, blah, blah. We'll talk more about that. But it's really important. Exfoliation, freshening, moisturizing. If you do only two things on this screen, cleanse and moisturize, I beg you, please. Yes, thank you. Cleanse and moisturize. Very, very important. All right? So, hey, I'm going to talk about a few more extras that's important as well. Wearing a mask. Wearing a mask once, twice, or up to even 3 times per week. This is a pore purifying mask. The top picture is showing a lady wearing a charcoal mask, which removes blackheads, whiteheads, excess oil, just purify your pores. I mean, I cannot remind you enough that when you step outside, you're stepping into a load of pollution. All right? My daughter and I in the picture at the bottom, we're wearing a pink clay mask. Also purifies the pore, but also has some age-fighting ingredients in it. Get excited, somebody. Hey, get excited, someone. Get excited. Age-fighting. I mean, your skincare is fighting for you. We sing in church all the time, God fighting for you. Well, I'm telling you something else. Your skincare is fighting for you. All right, exfoliation, super important. Secret. Many people didn't want you to know. You got to exfoliate the whole body. In this picture, I have an older lady, and I hope you can see it. She used this microdermabrasion system that we have, and just on one hand. Can you tell which hand she used it on? Yeah, you can, right? Just one time. This is designed for your face, but so just imagine what this will do. Why is it important? Removes dead skin. You have millions and millions and millions of skin dying every day. Get excited. The Bible says we should die daily, right? Well, we are. Or skin. Come on. You didn't get it? We are dying daily. My husband is laughing. Thank you. I'll give you an extra kiss tonight. Thank you. All right? We're dying daily. Lots of skin. So you got to get rid of it, okay, to reveal the younger skin on the inside, and it will be better able to absorb your moisturizer. All right, so if you're fighting dry skin, this may be the reason. Men, how many men in here? Let me see the men. Do you think I'm talking to you? Did you even think I was talking to you? Oh, I hope so, because you got skin, right? You have skin. You got skin in the game. You got skin. So it's important to take care of your skin as well. Don't just look at the ladies and like, ooh, that's for her. When the preacher is up here talking and you're like, I wish so-and-so was here today at church. I don't know why they didn't come. Where are they? I'm talking to you. I'm talking to everyone. All right, so advanced solution. All right, so it does not make sense that you try to go out there and get some retinol. I hear something about retinol, this is good, and you're not washing your face, and you're not moisturizing. It makes absolutely no sense to whiten your teeth if you're not brushing your teeth. You got the analogy? So you got to take good baseline care of your skin before you start adding advanced solutions like the amazing retinol system that clears up your skin, brightens your skin, reduce the sign of wrinkles. It's super amazing. Make sure you come out to speak to me about that. OMG, eyes, eyes, eyes. Oh gosh, if we could just deal with this baggy eyes. We're carrying around bags with us all the time. So taking care of your eyes, this is what I want you to remember. You should never put anything on your eyes that doesn't specifically say eyes, because it's clinically prepared for your eyes. Hyperallergenic. So I have a remover there that removes dirt, makeup. Men use it as well, but mostly women use it. Eyeliner, mascara. It removes your makeup very, very easy. And then all the way to the other side, I have an instant puffiness reducer. OMG. And in between, we have creams. So taking care of that special area is super duper important. I want to wrap up to let you know that Mary Kay is an amazing company. I started my business in April of 2015. Really started for an extra $600 because I wanted to have some fun money. I wanted to travel to my country, which I did twice this year. No, last year. Oh, it's a new year. Twice, and somewhere else in the Caribbean as well. I just wanted some extra that my paycheck wasn't doing. It was going mostly into mortgage and car payment. Of course, I was paying tithes and all of that too, but there wasn't any extra. And I got so much more. One of the things I got is the ability to give more. And I do that in my congregation. I do that in the community. This is one of the examples that I really am passionate about because I lost a sister from breast cancer. So this is something my group and I do every single year. So whenever you see me doing it, if you want to participate, I would love your participation. So this year we donated again to the Christus Spawn Cancer Center. And the patients, just imagine going in and leaving with a bad report, but getting an amazing package. I can't tell you how much it blesses them. So I'm so happy that this is one of the areas. Another area that I've been affected by is domestic violence. We tend to keep quiet about those things. Okay? Many people don't know. Okay? Many people don't know that I lived in the women's shelter for over 2 weeks in North Texas because of domestic violence. No, not this husband, the other one. Yeah. He wanted to make that clear. Yes, this is another area that Mary Kay supports. All right, and we were blessed just when I became a director for Mary Kay to donate over $20,000 to the shelter here in Corpus Christi. I love to represent. Thank you. I love to represent a brand that represents people, that give to people, that give to the community. So thank you so very much. That is me in my amazing suit. That pink Cadillac is parked in the driveway. When you see me driving it, just know that it represents never giving up. It represents supporting my customers. It represents treating every single person like they're the most important person in the room. That's what that car represents. It represents supporting other women who want to stay home with their babies and have a means of income. Someone telling them, you can do it. You are good enough. God is blessing you. I'm here for you. That's what that car represents. Thank you so much. I hope you have some questions for me. Any questions? How many times you gonna wash your face? Yay, what's your question? Oh, I am from the beautiful island of Jamaica. My husband and I, we met in high school. Long story, but we're married now. Yes. Yes, I am from Jamaica. And by the way, my studio, my beauty studio is just a stone throw down the street here. It's at the corner of Greenwood and West Point, 1501 West Point Road. Please come by to see my table and fill out my information so you can get your very own free facial and consultation for your skin. Thank you so very much. All right.
Thank you so much, Christian. Appreciate you and your team today for allowing me to come by today, this wonderful church, and present what I have today. So my empowerment promise today, an empowerment promise is to really bring everybody together as to why we are here today. My hope is that there is information that you don't know now about food and eating. After the next 20 minutes, you will know and hopefully make an impact in your life. That's my empowerment promise. So, better eating, a path to constructive eating. It's the New Year's. It's all on our minds. So what are some of the common attitudes towards the new year in relation to food and eating? What are attitudes? They are thoughts, feelings, reflected by behaviors. So let me ask the crowd real quick, what are some typical attitudes, feelings, thoughts when it comes to the New Year's with regards to food and eating? Just say one word. Okay, Whataburger, eat better, chocolate. What about some feelings associated with food and eating? Discipline, any other feelings or thoughts? Guilt, yes. Okay, so a variety of different feelings, right? And thoughts surrounding food and eating around the New Year's, okay? So, but oftentimes in my practice, I often see a lot of negative attitudes towards food and eating, right? I got to start my diet on Monday. I got to eat all the Whataburger on Sunday, get all the food in and the calories in before I start my diet. Oh, this is going to be so tough. Negative feelings. So this is a typical cycle that I've seen throughout my years of experience in relation to food and eating around the New Year's, specifically dieting. We start very enthusiastic, very hyped up, very happy to start our motivational fitness and nutrition goals. Okay? But it becomes a cyclical cycle, right? We start with restriction, immediate restriction. I can't have these foods, I can't have that. My diet must comprise of only these foods and I have to stay away from these foods. So we always start with restriction. This is a bad thing, and I'm going to explain why. Then we fall short of those restrictions we placed for ourselves because they were unrealistic and they were not sustainable. And through that, we hit an emotional disturbance. Feelings of guilt, anxiety, frustration, shame. We go on through our cycle and we have destructive patterns. Now we're going off the deep end, we're binging, we're eating all the food all the time, all the snacks, and we repeat the cycle over and over. So what we're really doing inherently is our mind and body are working against each other, okay? They're fighting, they're constantly fighting. We say one thing, but then our behaviors are complete opposite of what we're saying. We're fighting against each other. The mind and body are fighting against each other. What does that leave us with? It leaves us with a relatively impulsive, chaotic, and patterns all over the place, food all over the place, and we're just filled with feelings of guilt, anxiety, and shame, okay? So that's the common experience for most people who are trying to improve. So it doesn't make any sense, correct? So I'm not gonna leave you in the dark. There is hope. So what I want you to do right now is look to your partner, turn around and say, you've made it this far. Give them a high five. You've made it this far, right? There's gotta be some positive in this. And that's the truth. That is the literal truth. You've made it this far, eating the foods you've enjoyed in the quantities that you've desired. You've made it this far, okay? So that immediately shows or proves that we actually can do this. with a little bit of coaching, with a little education, and a little bit of tools, okay? And that's exactly what I'm going to present today. So, before we get started, I would like to preface this with what you eat specifically, the foods you eat. Common question I get is, Josh, what foods do I eat? Matters less than how you eat generally. Okay, I'm going to say that again. What you eat specifically matters less on how you eat generally. And I'm going to explain this thoroughly in the next couple of slides. Okay, but I want you to keep that in mind. So, this is a hierarchy of constructive eating. What does it really represent? It just means at the bottom is the most important. Okay, and as we graduate each level, things become less important because we first served the first and most important thing. Okay, so for example, we are starting here at getting enough. And I'm going to explain in the next few slides what that means. So getting enough, there are just two components to getting enough food. There is a physiological component and there's a psychological component. The first one is just simply getting enough substance, okay? We know that if you deprive a human about 60 days without food, they will die, okay? So the thing is that we have to eat. We will be eating for the rest of our lives. The second part of it is our experience when it comes to food and eating in our body, okay? A lot of times it's a negative and destructive experience. So we need to rewire that to make it a positive experience when it comes to our food and eating. So how do we determine that we're getting enough? How much food do we eat? That's another common question I get. Well, there's some subjective things here that we can start to think about when we sit down to a meal. The first one is, come hungry. I know many of you, including myself, have gone to the next meal or the next snack and we weren't really even hungry. We were either bored or distracted or nothing else to do. So the point here is that we legitimately need to only eat when we are actually biologically hungry. There's an actual hunger in place. The second component to this is having a positive experience. I already explained this a little bit earlier, which is having foods that are rewarding and satisfying to you, okay? And some might make jokes here and there and say, well, I guess it's pizza and ice cream for me all the time at every meal. And that is entirely up to you to choose that, right? But is that really going to serve you in the long run? We'll continue to talk about that in the next few slides. Another component is leave comfortable. I know many times, especially the holidays and Thanksgiving in particular, I left overly stuffed, and it happens. But you just simply move on to your next meal. And the last component here is pay attention to your body weight, okay? Because we have to start getting an understanding of where we're going and the direction that we're heading in. So a simple schematic here of how we can get enough in practice, that is, eat large. The bigger you could set up your meals that are appropriate on a daily given basis, they're going to serve to get you to the next meal. A lot of times I see in my practice that individuals are eating very little, and all that does is facilitate hunger across the day. When instead, they could have set up their meal that was large enough for them, appropriate enough for them, to then get them to the next feeding opportunity. And we're going to dive deeper in that later. The next one is having lower energy dense foods. I'm going to explain exactly what that means in the next slide. And the last one is PFF. Okay, think protein, fluid, and fiber when you're setting up and creating your meals. So energy density, what is energy density? Essentially, it's the amount of calories contained in a given food per gram. This is a perfect example here. As you see up there, on the left, we have a Reese's peanut butter cup, which is my favorite. I actually have a package over there after my presentation because I'm using a lot of sugar right now in my brain. So one Reese's peanut butter cup, if I were to place it on a food scale, it weighs 21 grams. That's the physical weight of a Reese's peanut butter cup. The amount of calories that are contained in one single Reese's peanut butter cup is 105 calories. We would say that that is a high calorie or high energy dense food, okay? We look to the right where it's a gala apple, okay? And that weighs, if I place it on a food scale, 200 grams. Which out of the two are you getting more physical food? The apple, correct. The apple, out of 200 grams, nets or gives you 80 calories. So, to go back to energy density, we would say that the Reese's Peanut Butter Cup is a high energy dense food, a high calorie dense food, and the apple is a low energy dense food. So, this plays part into setting up your meals. So if you want to have meals that are rewarding, satisfying, and filling to get you to your next meal, having more foods that are in lower energy dense are going to benefit you in multiple ways. They are usually more nutritious, they're usually more filling, and you're going to have a much more pleasing time and feeling like you are satiated and you can move on and not think about food for the rest of the day, or at least till your next meal. There's a wonderful book called Volumetrics. It goes deep dive, everything to do with calorie density, and I highly recommend it. Just type in volumetrics into Google, and it's a really great resource. So moving on here. Okay, now I just said we're going to stick to energy density for the rest of the presentation. So, tell you what, we got to adapt, right? I think the clicker just went to sleep. It needs some coffee. Okay, so I have my presentation here, and I'll just continue talking as we go through these slides. So the next example was getting, and I'm going to keep clicking while we're talking. That way it just helps me out here. So the next slide is a real life example of what getting enough looks like. It's a picture of a meal. Okay, it's a breakfast meal, and I basically utilize all the stuff we just talked about on how we can set up ourselves for getting enough at each meal, okay? And I utilize a variety of different foods that were filling, low energy dense, prioritize protein, and ensure that I have some sort of fluid either before, during, or after. There we go. Thank you, Christian. Always coming clutch. So this is the picture I was talking about. It's a breakfast, okay? It has vegetables, protein, starch source, and again, the common characteristics of a meal that you could set up for yourself based on the foods that you enjoy and you find rewarding is you come hungry. You have a rewarding and satisfying experience. You leave comfortable. Your meals are relatively large, that are appropriate for you, and there are lower energy dense foods, majority of them, and they have fiber, fluid, and protein. So, let's give a little round of applause that we did graduate from learning how to get enough food. Now we're moving on to patterns. Has anyone experienced that they woke up late, they're late for work, they're driving, they just grabbed a coffee, and they didn't end up eating till 3 p.m.? Who has had that experience before? It happens to us all the time, and that's okay. But the danger in that is it sets our patterns to be erratic and chaotic over time if we're not careful, okay? And what does that do? We're going to explain that here right now with this little depiction. When we have erratic and chaotic eating patterns, it sets us up for the same cycle here. We fall short of what we intentionally said we were going to do. We end up with an emotional disturbance. We have just this vicious cycle repeating over and over if our eating patterns are always out of line. And there's other things that happen with this. Our food reward and satisfaction go down. We feel like we're never getting enough to eat. We're always trying to get to the next meal, overly hungry, craving everything under the sun. So again, eating patterns are very important, and we're going to explain the solution for this. So enter the milestone method. We all have natural junction points in our day, okay? We wake up, we get ready for work, we go to work, we have a lunch break, we go home, we insert physical activity if that's part of our routines. Those are natural transitions throughout our day. We call those feeding opportunities, okay? What I really love about this milestone method is that there's no time associated with your mealtime. A lot of times with my clients is they will have exactly at certain hours of the day. I'm going to eat at 7:30 a.m., I'm going to eat at 11:30 a.m., I'm going to eat at 2 p.m., I'm going to eat at 6 p.m. And that's all fine, but what happens when you don't meet that criteria? You set yourself up again for the cyclical cycle of feeling defeated because you didn't eat your meal right at 11:30. Now it's screwed up, might as well just go eat Whataburger. So the interesting thing about the milestone method is that it's not time associated. It's simply your natural individual transitions throughout the day. We all have them. We all get up. We all get ready to do something. We all have a relatively like the same idea of a lunch break. So all you need to do here is decide how much is enough for you for baseline 1, then determine how many meals you would like to plot in your typical day. If it's 3, you simply insert each meal that you enjoy and find sustainable across time. So, another round of applause. We just made it through patterns. Now we are on to balance. What does balance look like when it comes to constructive eating? This one's a little bit tricky, but the whole idea here is that every time we sit down to a meal, we have bits and bobs of a little bit of macronutrition, which is fat, carbohydrates, and protein. Meaning that every time we sit down to a meal, it's going to be a combination or a mixture of all 3 macronutrition, okay? And what we do here with this chart is simply doing a logistical check on if we're getting enough balance and an even distribution among the major food categories. And we're going to explain with some pictures on what that looks like. So the first one is what I call complicated foods. All this really means is that there's a mixture of protein, carb, and fat within these foods, okay? These are foods with ingredients, okay? Moving on to the next one, we start with roughage. These are foods that are ingredients, okay? So there's no ingredients making up a celery. It's just celery. And we use celery in a variety of different recipes. So these are foods that are ingredients. That's the major difference between these complicated foods and these foods that are ingredients, okay? The next one, we have our starch sources, okay? Our protein sources and our fat sources. And again, going back to our logistical planning, if we can plot these across, getting enough of our mixed foods, enough of our protein, carb, and fat, we can now have an even distribution of the macronutrition. All right, we're at the final top here. Food variety. We made it. We got it. We learned what is enough for us. We learned how our patterns can affect us in a negative or positive way. And we also learned how balance looks like over time. Okay? The last one is food variety. And this is actually, what foods do I eat? Are there 10 special foods that I need to be eating for the rest of my life? What do you automatically notice here? It's the least important at the top. Why? Because if you start with the variety, the specific foods, you set yourself up to fail. But now what we're doing is setting a foundation. We all know that we have to have a solid foundation. We have to have a solid rock, right? So understanding that, first we need to decide what is enough for us to sustain us across time, across our lifespan, having a pattern throughout our day-to-day schedule, having that balance through the major food categories, and of course, now we can start to slowly introduce that variety. Become interested, become intrigued. Hey, I want to try this food now that I know how much I'm getting across the day, and so forth. So choose and learn to become a constructive eater. What that does, you have to give yourself permission to eat. You really do. If you're not, you're fighting yourself in your mind, and then you're doing something completely different. It happens all the time. Once you choose to learn to become a constructive eater, then you will find levels of discipline you never thought possible, as well as having that competence to know when you come in any situation, whether you're out at a restaurant or you're having a holiday meal with your family, I know exactly when I need to be eating all the time. And what does this do? This now brings us to alliance rather than fighting each other, our mind and our body. Now everything that we say is in accordance with what we're doing. Thank you.
Presentation. Let's give it up. Chris, y'all. You got to give yourself permission to be a constructive eater. Was that good news? And then not only did he tell us, he gave us some pointers on how to make that happen. Learn your pattern. Partner up. We talked about companionship being important. It is. So now let's get ready for Okay, Chris, someone had a question for you, sir.
I don't like hearing myself talk so much, so that's why I ran off the stage. But yes, questions. Any questions? That's a great question. So the question she asked is, oftentimes we hear that there's a certain time that most humans should end their eating, right? But when you really repeat that question again, all humans, every human on this entire planet should stop eating at 6 o'clock. Now, how does that sound? Wow, we all have the schedules. They're synced up on Google. The same eating schedules. So when you think of it that way, it becomes more of a practical solution more than anything. At the end, what is your unique schedule? What are your unique needs? And at the end of the day, and then you also have to understand what exactly what problem are we trying to solve? So whenever I, having a client or patient interaction, I'll ask them, okay, they ask the question, what problem are you trying to solve? Is it weight management? Is it a medical nutrition therapy? Then we could start to reverse engineer to provide them with potential solutions. Does it work? Absolutely. It's a great tool, intermittent fasting. She asked, does intermittent fasting work? Yes. Again, if it follows greatly with your schedule, with your individual needs, and you're having a positive experience with your food and eating, absolutely, you can use that as a tool. Just like with any of the major respected diets out there, whether it's paleo, ketogenic, whether it's Mediterranean, if you can fit that dietary pattern in your own lifestyle, in your meeting, again, this is why I love the pyramid picture there, because you can start all those diets you hear about all the time. Did I get enough? Did I have structured feedings, patterns? Did I have balance? And am I getting a variety? So whatever diet you want to pursue now, you can think of the pyramid now and answer those questions. And if they meet that criteria, then you're doing pretty good. What other questions do you have? Yes, absolutely. Again, to give general recommendations, there are general recommendations out there. But again, I always look who's in front of me, okay, and what are their specific needs, their specific, goals, and then I make recommendations from there. But yes, I'm gonna get a little rated R here. At the end of the day, if you look down in the toilet and you see a dark yellow, that's a good sign that your body is telling you to drink a little bit more water. Yep. Yeah, everybody knows their patterns. Everybody knows, whether or not they're getting enough water. The point there is that when I assign a number to something, humans often start to obsess over it. Okay, if I say 64, now they're carrying 2 jugs across the whole day to all their meetings. When in reality, it's like, look, we've been alive for thousands of years now. We're very competent. We're very good at knowing when we're hungry, when we need to drink water. So I try to really encourage that. Hey, we know what we made it this far. Remember, we started with that. We made it this far. So keep on going.
Well, thank you for coming out today. My name is Dr. Ryan Delcambre. I am a physical therapist here in town. I've been practicing for 6.5 years. I'm born and raised in San Antonio, Texas. I have moved to Corpus and been living here for 2 years now. I love working out. I love doing sports. I played college tennis. I have a 6-month-old son. It's my first one, and he's really awesome. I wish him and my wife could have been here today, but they had other plans. But today, I'm going to talk about why physical therapy is important, even if you hadn't had a serious injury or even surgery. My objectives today are to explain what a PT is, kind of what we do, how one can help you in your journey, and even just kind of talk about what I think the new standard of physical therapy is and should be. So, what is a physical therapist? Basically, it's a healthcare professional that is trained in movement and the musculoskeletal system. We're trained to identify, diagnose, and treat movement problems so that we can help maintain, restore, and improve your function as much as possible. So I know that's kind of a very general, brief description. I know when we think of PT sometimes, it's thinking of, I was in a bad accident, had a serious injury, I need to learn to walk again, I need to just learn to do these basic tasks all over again, or that it's generally just for older people who had a hip replacement, knee replacement, and I need to help grandma learn to walk again. It's much more than that. So my definition of a physical therapist is that we are movement experts. I also like to call myself a human body consultant that helps people move better, get out of pain, and back to the activities that they love doing. To me, this sounds more inclusive and gives a better general description kind of what we are and what we do. I also like to think of myself or PTs as the quarterback for health and wellness. And I'll get more into that later. But to me, I think my definition sounds a little bit better than kind of the general definition, a little more exciting. What we do. So the main thing is I'm a problem solver. So usually people are coming to me with a problem. You have pain in your knee, pain in your back. I want to be better. I'm a tennis player. When I go to serve, it hurts. So that's a problem. So you're coming to me to solve that problem. Now, I'm a movement expert, so I have to look at how you move and see why you're having that pain. So one thing that we can do is also hands-on care, because obviously it's no fun being in pain. We need to kind of get rid of that pain. So we can use things such what's called manual therapy. It's just hands-on treatment of soft tissue mobilization. We can mobilize your joint. We are allowed to do, it's a form of acupuncture, but it's called dry needling. This is really going to help decrease your pain, decrease your tightness in your muscles. And then the last thing I like to say, our secret weapon is exercise. We prescribe exercise. And I say prescribe because I really believe that exercise and movement is medicine. And it should be dosed properly, just like when you're given medicine from your doctor, a pill, or anything. If you take too much medicine, something can happen. You can have side effects. You can overdose. While luckily for exercise, you can still do too much, but the side effects aren't as bad. But again, you want to dose it properly. You don't want to do too much. You don't want to be in pain the next day. But same thing if you underdose it. If you don't have enough of your pills, for whatever it is, a bacteria infection, that infection isn't going to go away completely. So if you're underdosing exercise, you're not meeting your goals, you're not getting stronger, you're not getting faster, you're not getting out of pain. So we have to dose it appropriately. And that's why I really believe exercise and movement is medicine. So how can one help you? So easy thing, we can help reduce and eliminate your pain. We can help you move better, get you more flexible, improve your mobility. We can get you stronger, stabilize your joints. We want the muscles and joints strong so that while you're doing your daily activities, you can do that well. And then also correcting your movement patterns. This is a big one, and sometimes that is the main thing we're working on. If you think about, we're usually dominant on one side of the body. We're going to have these asymmetries. We want to make sure that we're moving as well as possible and progressing your goals. If your goal is, to get out of pain so you can go play with your kids, well, the first step, obviously, hey, we got to get you out of pain, and then let's get you starting to get a little bit stronger. If your kid weighs, 60 pounds, you want to pick them up, well, let's start by just practicing lifting 10 pounds. We want to progress your goals along the way. And then, like I said, this last one, the quarterback of health and wellness. This is where I believe, can really set, myself and other healthcare professionals apart. You come to me with knee pain, and I say, hey, we need to get you stronger. We need to get you moving better. But you also, part of this pain is because you're a little bit overweight. Let's talk about how's your eating habits, how's your nutrition. Well, me being that quarterback for health and wellness, I know that part of the pain in your knee is because you're overweight. So if I have another person on my team, like a nutritionist, so Josh was just talking, I can say, hey, go see Josh to help get your nutrition under control, because in the end, this is going to help your knee pain also, not just physical therapy. Hey, it seems like around the holidays you're getting really stressed. This plays an important factor in your pain also. How can we help you not be so stressed so that you can help get over this pain? Hey, I have a friend who does meditation, so you can really help de-stress yourself. This is going to help in the long run. So I can help direct you to other healthcare professionals to help you out, because again, it's a multifactorial process of why we're having pain. So one thing I like to talk about when I work with people is, I call it the I3 model. It's inconsistent movement, incidences, and injury. So this is a nice little graph of showing inconsistent movements. So what is this? These are those asymmetries that we talked about. Hey, whenever I, raise something overhead, a box, my right arm is stronger than my left arm. My right arm does all the work. My left arm's not doing anything. Hey, whenever I go to squat down, I'm leaning to the right always. My right leg's doing all the work. My left leg's not doing anything. I have these imbalances in mobility. So these are kind of these inconsistent movements. They can just impact your overall performance, so you're not performing or living your best. Now, these can lead to incidences. This is when you have those little tiny aches and pains that last for a day or so. They usually clear up, no big deal. You just kind of take that day off and go on with your day. Well, enough of these incidences can lead to an injury. This is when you're getting more pain. You're going to have to take some time off. You start seeking help. Maybe you take a little medication. This is when it's really impacting your life. No, I can't pick up my kid now. I can't do this with my grandkid or anything. So obviously you have this injury. It leads to pain, which ultimately leads back to these inconsistent movement patterns. So you can see this cycle keeps going and going and going. We have to break that. So that's where I like to help out and really work on fixing these inconsistent movement patterns that are causing you pain. So that's why rehab is a journey. Just like a weight loss journey, your goal is to lose 10, 20, 30, 40 pounds. It's going to take time. So I like to break it up. I have a 3-step process. Step 1, we want to reduce and end that pain of yours. Step 1. Step 2, I want to discover that root cause and correct it. That's where we find out what are these inconsistent movement patterns, and now we're working on correcting it. This takes time. It's not going to happen overnight. Just like if you want to lose 30 pounds, It's not going to happen in a day or so. When we want to work on correcting these patterns, get you stronger, it's going to take time. And I'm going to help guide you along the way and all that. And then step 3, my goal is to always empower you to live a pain-free and have an active lifestyle. Because ultimately, we know that with diabetes, cardiovascular disease, these are lifestyle things that can be prevented by being healthy, exercising. So that's why when it comes to sleep, eating, and stress, these all affect your pain. And going back to me being that human body consultant or that quarterback of health and wellness, I have friends that can help you address these other factors that's also affecting your pain. The new standard. So when I think of healthcare today, I think of it more as sick care. It's too reactive and not proactive. Just think if you never had to go to the doctor because your blood pressure was high, because you're eating well and exercising always. That would be a lot better. That would be more proactive than reactive. I think our current medical system often prioritizes injections, surgeries over conservative care. And that's why I started my company, my business, Omega Sport, Physical Therapy and Performance, because I want to bridge that gap between rehab and fitness. I want to make sure you're happy, you're healthy, and you're living your life the way you want it without any pain or anything. I think movement is so good for you. I won't tell anyone to say, hey, this is bad, this is a bad exercise, don't do that. I want you to be active. I want you moving because I know how good it is for you. My goal is just to help people avoid unnecessary pain medications, injections, and surgery. Because again, there's a bunch of side effects that can happen with all that when conservative care, just by addressing certain lifestyle factors of exercising, eating better, managing your stress, can really avoid all that, as long as you're willing to go down that journey. And I want to be that person that can help you along in that journey. Thank you. Yes, it looks like we have questions. Yes. Yeah, so when we look at arthritis, this could be a whole other topic, so I'll try to answer it as best as I can. Arthritis is an inflammatory condition. Arth means joint, itis means inflammation, so we're just saying it's inflammation in the joint. Now, we're finding that arthritis kind of is like gray hair. It's something that happens as we age, so we don't need to fear it. Research has shown that exercise is very beneficial for it, and managing your weight is very beneficial in managing arthritis symptoms. Now, the injections, you're getting them because there's a lot of inflammation, so it's going to help calm down that inflammation. Now, usually with that, you can only get so many steroid injections every so often. You probably get maybe one every, 3-4 months, and it's usually capped at 3 times a year. So the goal would be to eventually avoid that. My wife is a veterinarian, and she gave me this analogy what steroids is sometimes. Sometimes steroids is like nuking an ant. It gets the job done, but it's kind of overkill. So it's getting the job done for you. It's really decreasing that inflammation, helping out overall. I truly believe if we address certain lifestyle factors of start an exercise program, I know I got some personal trainer friends. We can start you with them. I can also help you along the way, like, hey, we'll make sure you're moving right, managing the pain, but let's also talk about nutrition, sleep, and stress. Because when we're overweight, have extra body fat, that stores inflammation. which can then further the pain and cycle of arthritis. So to answer your question, yes, it would be starting somewhere with exercise, finding the right one for you, and just gradually progressing it. You're welcome. Right here. Physical therapy. So the question was the difference between physical therapy and a chiropractor. So there's a lot of differences, but there's a lot of overlap. I would say it goes back to our training and how we look at the human body and how we're gonna get you better. So my thought is with a chiropractor, typically they're more gonna be working on their primary mode of treatment are the adjustments, manipulations, a little bit of body work, and then get you going, right? So in physical therapy, kind of like I talked about, I'm going to take this whole body approach. I want to look at you move. I want to ask you like, hey, how's your eating? How's your sleep? How's your stress? What are your goals and all that? And I'm going to use exercise as the primarily mode to help get you to your goal. So that's going to depend on your goal. So when I see some people, I see them weekly, I can see them monthly. Really just depends on like what your goal is and what you and I feel is the best plan of action. Yep. Here. So that's where I think I kind of start to separate myself. So as physical therapists, we can do health, wellness, injury prevention. Now, typically insurance may or may not pay for that. They usually want to pay if you have an injury or pain or if it's stopping you from doing something. So my model is I don't deal with insurance, so we can take that middleman out so they're not telling you or me what you can and can't do. So I don't deal with insurance so that you can come to me, help prevent any injuries, maybe just get a little bit healthier, maybe just get some guidance on exercise. So yes, I know the traditional form is I'm hurt or surgery, I'm gonna go see a PT afterwards. Again, that's why I'm here trying to change all that, because what if we can avoid surgery? What if we can avoid getting really hurt by just being proactive instead of reactive? Mm-hmm. Yes. Any other questions? Yes, so that is always, it depends, because everyone experiencing, even if it's just like a traditional, I got sciatica pain, it's always unique to each individual, and that's where just the initial evaluation, getting a personalized like movement screen going on. But I would say typically the sciatica can come from maybe if you're sitting a lot during the day, those glute and hamstring muscles, because you're sitting all the time, start to become tight, and they start pressing on the nerve, which then causes some irritation in that nerve, which causes that pain down the leg. So again, moving, staying active, making sure the glutes, the hamstrings are stretched, being active, making sure we're trying to use good posture when we're sitting and standing is going to help put everything in a better alignment, better position for them to not get irritated as much or easily. Anyone? Yes. So again, I'm for that. So I can do both because I'm not dealing with insurance. So if you want to come to me, just to start getting a general workout plan going. Then I say, hey, you're doing good. We got some of your pain under control. Let's help transition you to a personal trainer so you can start being more active. Now we decrease our frequency of visits to making sure that you're still, feeling good and everything. And of course, if you do happen to have an injury, I'm there to help you too.
Hey, give me some more music, DJ. Can we pump it up in here? Can everybody stand up with me? Stand up for a second. I just want you to kind of get some blood flowing in them legs, right? Just kind of jog in place for a second. Just jog. Somebody told me it got real cold in here. Did y'all get cold? So we told the AC guy to turn it down. Turn it down. Yeah, just kind of warm up. All right, you can sit down and go side and come back. I'm just going to talk a little bit about me, my journey, catch my breath, and all that good stuff. So basically, Christian Smalls, I got certified as a personal trainer back in 2000. And I realized then that you can't out-train bad nutrition. And it's a really good idea that we had the nutritionist come up first and then the physical therapist so you can kind of get a whole understanding of everything. And what I realized is a lot of people go to the gym, like I trained in gym settings. I was a personal training manager. I had 10 trainers. And we had people who would come in and be like, oh, I'm eating this kind of food, I'm eating that kind of food, but I come in and I work it off. And what was crazy is they would say, then I go and I give myself a reward. And I'm thinking, you canceled all of everything out. Like you ate bad before you went, then you worked out and you ate bad afterwards. So it really didn't sit well with me. So as I was training, I would help people lose weight and understand how to diet better, how to eat better. And I had to take the advice myself. At some point, I was about 280. Was it about 280? It was a big boy. That's my sister over here yelling the turquoise. She can vouch for me. I was always a fat kid. Growing up, fat kid. Asthma. I felt like the little kid in the bubble. I really couldn't even go outside because everybody else was outside having fun. And Christian's in the house on a breathing treatment because he can't breathe. And I grew up in a family of just some amazing cooks, let me tell you. Like, my family's from Louisiana. And when I tell y'all we throw down, anybody who knows me know I can cook. And we ate well. We ate really good. And my family kind of spoiled me a little bit. I was a drummer, so I played drums. And I just sit on the drums over there. And after service, we have nice big meals. And my mom be like, baby, I got you a plate. And it was like the size of a platter at some point. Me and my brother, I have an older brother. They called us bottomless pits. We would just eat. Like, it was just fun. And I got to a point, though, where I was about, I'd say 25. I had a couple kids. Grandfather died from diabetes. And I thought to myself, wow, I really need to change some things up. Because this sugar that I'm eating is not going to keep me living long. And I'm not going to be able to have fun with my kids. I got a big family. It's like 5 of us. It's like 16 grandkids, 22 great-grandkids. I come from a huge family. So it was really, it saddened me to see such a great man be taken out for food. And that was just weird. That didn't make sense. Like, he was a bishop of a church, and I watched him preach and perform healings and all my life. And it was mind-blowing that our spirits can be right, our conscience can be right, we can make a lot of money, but if we eat the wrong food, we're out of here. So I made a change. And around 2000, right about 9/11 actually, I was in IT and the bottom kind of fell out of it. So I decided, you know what? I'm gonna take this little money I have saved up and I'm gonna go get a personal training certification. And I went to the Cooper Institute to get certified. And from there, the journey began. And as I started learning, I realized there was more and more things wrong with me. I didn't realize it was that bad. Like, I didn't have regular bowel movements. I know that might be a little gross for some people, but I didn't. And then I had like blood in my urine. It was weird. I wasn't sleeping good because I'd wake up in the middle of the night choking from acid reflux. And I was like, man, this is not good. And I'm steady gaining weight. And I remember one day I was tired. I was tired of being tired, right? Anybody ever get tired of just being tired? Tired all the time? Even when you sleep, you wake up, you're still tired? Like, how does this work? Like, I felt like I went to bed earlier. And I woke up, not only did I wake up tired, but I woke up hungry. Anybody wake up hungry? You ever wake up hungry? Yeah, and you can eat before you go to bed. It's weird. And then still wake up hungry. It's like, how does that work? Like, I just fed you. Leave me alone. So, I just kind of took a little journal of all the things that were wrong. And I was like, okay, I'm going to make this change. And I was equipped with this information. And I took it to my family. It's a big old family, Louisiana women. If y'all know about them, pray for them. And I was like, hey, y'all, I got this information. We gonna change our lives. Grandpa died like this. We don't have to die like that, y'all. We don't have to do it. We can change our lives. And my aunt looked at me and said, baby, I'd die before I quit eating ribs. You are not gonna get me to not eat my ribs, baby. And I was like, okay, Auntie, but what about if we just put a little turkey instead of the ham hocks? No, you do that for you. And I was like, okay, so I guess and that family after family member, my sisters could tell you, they thought I was crazy, y'all. They thought I was nuts. They said, something's wrong with that boy. Y'all pray for Sean. They all call me Sean. And, but I knew I was on this journey, and I knew I was going to have to probably pioneer this thing, right? And so I did. And family functions, they said, baby, you don't want none of this? No, I'm okay, thank you. You sure you don't want none of this? No. I made your favorite. No, I'm okay. But I brought some fish if y'all want some fish. Or I brought some, and they were like, no, we all right. I even tried to make my mama's dressing one time, and I was trying to make it healthy instead of putting the giblets and all of that. And I looked at my dresser. It's a table. I'm telling y'all, 16 of us, so everybody brings something. So I get to this table, and I'm like, where my dressing go? It's like tucked over in the side with some foil around. I'm glad you're the only one here. Now they can't get on me, right? So I was by myself, and I started dieting, started exercising. I tried multiple different diets. Some of the ones Atkins, Weight Watchers, Slim for Life. I'll just try them all and to see what worked, because I felt like if I'm a trainer, I need to bring people solid information, right? I can't just be, oh yeah, try this fad diet. And then once none of that worked, I was kind of baffled. I was like, this is weird. Like, I'm eating right, I'm exercising. And by this time, I had got down like 30 pounds. But that last 30 that next 30, it wasn't the last, it was the next 30. It was difficult. Like, it's easy to lose 10 pounds. You could not drink Coke for a week, 10 pounds will drop right off. But guess what? You drink that Coke again, it's coming back. So I couldn't do that. And then with the other diets, I realized that once you lose the weight, because of the way you lose the weight, you lose muscle. And the more muscle you have in your body, the more calories your body burns. So if you are preventing your body from burning more calories, then you're kind of creating a worse situation, right? Because now when you lose the weight, you lose it, but you're losing muscle. So when you start just to eat your normal regimen again, well, now we're back up. And not only that, but now you burn less calories, so now you're gonna gain even more weight. So that caused the problem. So I was like, well, I'm gonna have to figure this out. So I decided to look into just different natural ways of doing things, right? I figured all of my buddies were all bodybuilders and going to the gym and pumping themselves up with stuff I don't even want to talk about right now. And I knew I wasn't going to do that. So I decided to look into the herbal side of things and take my weight loss, my workout up a little bit more, and it tend to work out a little bit better for me. So what I ended up doing was I figured out ways to feed the body naturally without having to use so much food. And I was able to use an herbal supplement called sea moss. Anybody ever heard sea moss? Irish moss? Yeah, everybody. Sea moss has like the most minerals in like one weed that grows in the Atlantic Ocean that you can find. And it has all of the minerals that your body needs to survive. So you can really just take the supplement, not eat, and be fine. You don't starve your body, because the other problem is if you starve your body for long periods of time, your body goes into, what is it called? I forget what it's called, but it's basically where your body, it retains the calories. Starvation mode is what it's called. So instead of actually burning calories, it says, no, there's 24 hours in a day. She only ate once. I'm just going to store this because she's going to need it. You're going to need it. And your body won't let you kill it. Like, your body is very, very, very strong, very smart. So I did that, and then I started working out. Now, everybody always gets working out. They make it way too complicated, right? You can really just work out 1 day a week starting out. You don't have to do 5 days a week. Your body, as you work out and do more, you will get more energy. And it's contrary to what most people think, because a lot of people say, oh, I don't have the energy to work out. Well, you don't have the energy because you don't work out. So as you work out more, and I've had clients come to me, hey, Christian, I think I could take this up to 2 days a week. Let's do it. That's the body talking, right? So now we're ready for 2 days, and then we can get to 3 days. And if you want to work into 4 or 5, you can, right? But you really want to basically start out with very small things. Like, there are some people who can't lift their leg and hold it up, right? And just balance on one leg. If you can't do that, you got to start with balance, because there's no way you're going to be able to do this if you can't balance yourself, right? There's no way you can do a core exercise if your core isn't strong. So it's okay to start out just doing some very small, basic things around the house. Like when you get up from a chair, instead of pushing through the toes, push through the heel of your foot, right? Because that engages your hamstring and your glutes. And they're much larger muscles than your knee. Because if you press on your tiptoes, you're putting all that pressure on your knee. So if you have knee problems, make sure whenever you go up a step, push through the heel of your foot. Like, even if I do a squat, I can lift my toes up because I'm not on my toes. So it makes it easier, actually. You can walk easier, you can go upstairs easier, you can move around earth a little bit easier and prevent that type of injury. So, took all this into account, made sure that my balance was good. Then I was working out one day and felt a little something right here in my joint. And I was like, what is that? I couldn't do my bench press. And I've worked with a couple physical therapists and found out that there are actually joint repair exercises that you can do to repair your joints. And you don't need surgery. You can just go see Ryan as a physical therapist and repair that joint, right? And it's not hard. Like, it's very simple techniques. Like, you can do like an exercise, a rotation exercise like this, and heal this shoulder and not have to do a rotator cuff surgery, not have to do any type of surgeries at all. And it doesn't take long. I've done it for doctors. I've done physical therapy care, and within like a month, believe it or not, like we're talking 1, maybe 2 sessions a week. So over a month, you're talking maybe 6 to 8 times you do this exercise and no more cortisol. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna repair my joints. So I went through a whole exercise. I repaired every joint, knees, everything, because I'm this asthmatic kid now, just trying to jump into working out. Never played sports because I couldn't. And I was set off on my journey. So with that, I took into the fact that there's a mental aspect to this. Because as you move along so far, you start to wonder, is this working? Can I keep doing this? Right? Am I hurting myself? Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I was probably about 50 pounds down by this time, and I was scared that I was losing too much weight. Weird, isn't it? I was scared. I was like, I'm not supposed to be this small. Like, maybe I'm doing something wrong. Maybe I'm not going to stop losing weight, and I need to keep going. I need to do something different. And I realized that, God made our body perfect. It is equipped to heal itself. It's equipped to honestly feed itself. It provides, like a lot of people harp about getting a lot of protein, eat protein. Well, your body makes like 90% of the amino acids that make up a complete protein. So you don't necessarily need the protein. You just need to make sure that you feed your body properly so that it produces what it needs, right? It's kind of like right now the big topic is vaccinations, right? And if you got your vaccination, good. I'm not against them. But I just want you to know, if you feed your thyroid properly and you take the right vitamins and minerals, your body will fight off any disease that man has made or anybody else. So if you haven't got vaccinated, just make sure you feed your thyroid. Iodine is a great supplement for your thyroid. I take a little bit every day to make sure that I'm good. And there's also a natural antibiotic called colloidal silver. It is an all-natural antibiotic, and it will fight any disease you come in contact with. So just some things to know, because we're all pushed to the medical side of things, and God has already done something naturally for us. But we've got to know that he did his job and quit doubting him, thinking that we got a supplement for Jesus. We got a supplement for God. You don't have to. You don't have to. So I had to quit doubting God, right? I had to say, okay, Lord, I know you gave me this information. You have allowed me to be able to break it down and put it into programs and not only help other people, but help myself. And I'm just going to keep going. And I had no backing. I had a wife at the time, and she was like, Christian, you're just shoving this down my throat, and I don't know what to do. I was like, I just want us to live a little longer. That's all I want to do. That's it. We got kids, we might as well live a little longer. And I'm single now, so now you know how that went. But that was just a little humor. But yeah, quit doubting God. So I quit doubting God and made sure that, I was doing everything that I was supposed to do mentally, spiritually, because a lot of this journey, a lot of your exercise journey is it's very mental, it's very spiritual too, because as you are working out, you may have times where you either doubt yourself, you don't want to do it anymore, you get discouraged, so many things that can happen, and only being able to connect to God and pray and be able to push those, what I call evil spirits, out of your body will allow you to keep moving forward and have a successful workout program. Because anytime you do anything to better yourself or your health, you're going to have an opposing side. And it could be the person sitting next to you, and it could be the person inside you. But you've got to be able to fight it off and just keep moving. And know that God's got your back, and he's going to make sure you do what you're set out to do. So the next thing I want to talk about is how strong your body is. So there is this show called 600 Pound Life. Anybody ever seen it? I think that is the truest testament of how strong your body is. Gee whiz. Your body can take a lot. I mean, if you look at the opposite end of the spectrum, people who are just really small, like a drug addict, let's say, or everybody knows a drug addict. Somebody got one in their family, right? But they're incredibly strong. Like put stuff in their body and smoke it and shoot it and everything else, and the body still survives. Still survives. It's incredibly strong. So I say that to say, when you're in the gym, don't feel like you gotta grab a 5-pound weight. Don't feel like you can only walk on the treadmill for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Push yourself. You're not gonna die. Push yourself. Now don't injure yourself. Make sure your joints is good and your balance and your core is good, but push yourself. Even as you get older, you think, oh, this is just age. My leg just going out on me. It's just about that time. No. You quit pushing. You quit pushing yourself. When you push yourself, your muscles grow. They get stronger. It's kind of like when you go through life, right? And you hit a hard time in life. A very low time. I'll share a low time if you don't know what a low time is. Back in 2010, I was dating a girl and she got upset at me one day and decided to set my bed on fire while I was sleeping. Yeah, and I had 5 boys over, and luckily I had lost all this weight. So I had jumped on this little pot, and 3 of my boys that came out the back, they were up top because I built a gym on the back of my house, and they were able to just walk out of the back of their window and go on top of the roof. But they were like, we couldn't get the other 2. So I was like, okay. I jumped on this pot, jumped up on the roof, and I'm hanging off the side. And I'm reaching for kids, and I'm grabbing. Mark, Bryson, Braylon, can y'all hear me? Can you hear me? It's smoke coming out, everything. So I'd seen this little blue speck of light, and I grabbed what I could. And it was my son. I picked him up literally, set him back, and I was going for the next one. Now, had I lost all of this weight, I'd be in trouble. Neither one of them would have made it. Needless to say, the second one didn't quite make it. I couldn't get him out. He couldn't come closer to the window. I couldn't go into that window. So you have things that's gonna happen that's gonna set you back. And it's gonna be really difficult. But I wanna use that to say, my sister's crying over there. I know. It's okay, baby. We made it through. God is good. It's the low times that build us and make us stronger. Because if you look at me today, had I not told you, you probably would have never known that. But it's the same with our muscles. As you push, you tear those muscles down. Every time you work out, you're microscopically tearing those muscles. And like life does, it kind of microscopically tears us apart and it rips us apart. But as we know, if you can just get through it to the other side, God's got your back. And he will make you stronger. And it's the same with your muscles. If you can just push through it, you're gonna get sore. It's gonna hurt. It's not gonna feel good. You're not gonna wanna go and do it. But just push yourself. And you will get stronger. It'll make you stronger. And that's the only way your muscles grow. You can take as much supplements as you want. You can get as many shots as you want. You can watch all the TV you want. Nothing is going to build your muscles unless you physically work them out. Just like I see a lot of church folks in here, nothing is gonna build your faith unless you physically work it out. And some of you exercise your faith today by just coming in today and say, hey, Lord, I don't know what Christian gonna give us, but we're gonna be here to support him. And I appreciate every one of you for doing it. So have that faith in yourself as you work out, as you move, as you do things. Know that God is with you. Push yourself. And another point is to keep your stress levels low, because stress is a silent killer. I mean, it's so silent, people don't even know. Like people will say, oh, they died of a heart disease, or oh, they died of clogged artery, or oh, they died of this, or oh, they died of that, not realizing that it was stress that started the whole problem. It will kill you dead. There is and Omar may talk about this a little bit with consciousness, but our cell structure, I did some research to figure out our cell structure, right? We actually produce energy. You know, how you can walk into a room and you say, oh, I don't like that person's energy. It's an aura, right? Well, as you think more positively, you increase the amount of energy that your body produces, right? Which, one, expands your aura, right? So all the church people, you talking about walking in the room, you don't have to tell nobody you saved because the Lord is on your side. You already know. They're going to feel it when you hit the room. They're not going to even know why. But I got it. It's in me. It's inside, right? So that same energy, if we take that same energy and use it intentionally, right? There's bad in every situation, but there's good in every situation. God's not imbalanced. He don't just create bad in your life. It's good. We just make it bad. And honestly, the bad makes us stronger. So is it really bad? You know, it's just perspective, right? So it's really all good. And there was a saying back in the day, it's all good. And it really is all good. So you want to keep those stress levels low, because if you think negatively, right, the opposite happens. You create less energy. Your cell structure needs a certain amount of energy to survive, and they die. And that can cause cancer. It can cause an organ to fail because it's not getting the amount of energy it needs to survive because of what's going on up here. And quiet as it's kept, we should all be following God, not our head, and that whole problem will go away. But that's another topic. So we're going to take it biblical. Like I told y'all, my grandfather was a bishop in church, and I grew up in church. I was licensed at 17 as a minister, and I've been preaching all my life pretty much, most of it. And I found this scripture a while back, and it made me understand how even God wants us to be healthy. Because if you look at that scripture, it says, above all things. He started out with beloved because he just wants you to know he loves you, right? It's kind of like when you see your friend, hey, sweetheart, hey, baby. You just want to know I love you. But you got to be healthy. You got to be healthy. And if you think about what I'm doing right now, if you think about Pastor Reaves and what he does and other pastors, if they're not healthy, those guys they're down. They're down. So you can't even do God's work if you're not healthy. Can't do it. So we want to keep him pleased, right? We want to keep him happy. We want to keep him upstairs happy. So I just encourage you to take this information, use it, apply it in your life as best you can. Don't push yourself too hard, but definitely push yourself, right? If you normally walk a mile, get a mile and a half, right? When you work out, instead of going in and just doing that 3 sets of 10, which I don't know, Ryan, if you've seen it in your books, but when I studied kinesiology, which is the study of movement, there was no 3 sets of 10. No, never, right? Never. There's no 3 sets of 10. I don't know where it came up to do 10 reps in an exercise, but it is the worst thing you could ever do because it does nothing. It does absolutely nothing. So hit 12, hit 15, hit 20, 25, right? 30 if you're feeling good. You're going to do 50 if you're hanging out with Ryan. But work it up. Work yourself into it, though, right? So here's the way you do that. You do 1 set. Like, let's say, for instance, you haven't worked out in a while. You go to the gym tomorrow, right? You say, I'm going to get in here, and I'm going to do what Christian said. You do 1 set. Boom, 12. Right, this arm, 12. This arm, 1 set. Move to the next one, 12. Right, go, 12. You don't have to jump. You can just squat if you need to. It's okay. Hit 12. You do 12 of every body part, get out of there. 1 time. Go home. Get you some food, get you some rest. And I'll tell you a little secret too. It has been scientifically proven that after you work out, your blood vessels dilate so that your body can get more nutrients to the muscle because it knows, hey, this muscle is being worked constantly. It needs more blood, and blood carries oxygen. Oxygen heals the body. Kind of like if you get a scab on your hand and you cover it up with a Band-Aid, it just stays real moist, don't quite heal up. But you take that Band-Aid off, it dries up, scabs. oxygen heals, right? And the only way to get oxygen to your muscles is through the blood. So, blood vessels dilate to get more blood. And then we call that the nutrition highway. Because after you work out, you can go eat good. Eat you something real good. Because it's just going to go right to those muscles. But you only got an hour. Tops. Some people maybe a little less, right? So, but you want to eat something simple, right? Some protein and a simple sugar, right, is what I like to do, because complex sugars take a long time to burn, kind of like diesel fuel versus gasoline. Gas burns quick, diesel burns slow over time, much cleaner. With simple carbohydrates, anything white basically, it burns in like 15 minutes. And then it turns into fat, believe it or not, if you don't use it. So if you're eating like a piece of cake sitting on the couch, that hip just gonna pop out on you. Like, I didn't have that yesterday, and I can't even put these jeans on. So it will do it. It'll store it as fat in 15 minutes. So make sure, and that's the thing, you want to time what you eat, how you eat it, and don't just eat because you're hungry, because there are addictive chemicals in food that make you crave certain foods. Like some people in here probably never crave sushi, right? You just don't crave it, right? Yeah, you do, right? But if you eat it, right, you'll crave it. Right? So the foods you eat are what you crave, because there's something in there that's making you want to go back to it. And not that sushi is bad, but that white rice is a problem. So you want to make sure that you structure that situation, that you're eating to make sure that you're not eating the wrong foods and that you're eating for performance. So if you know I'm gonna be getting up, moving around a lot today, eat something real good. If you're not moving around a whole lot, you don't have to eat a big meal. If you're just gonna sit on the couch, just get you something small, simple, that's just not gonna store as fat and leave you not fitting those pants that you like to wear, that nice dress. You know what I mean? Because I like my clothes. Speaking of clothes, we got shirts in the back if you didn't hear. But yeah, so just take this information, use it, eat for performance, push yourself, right? Make sure that your joints are good, that your core is good. If I am with Ryan, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Hey, I'll take my little $50 and go get me some physical therapy right quick. If I didn't know it, I do it myself now, but I do it. I do therapy on myself. But if I didn't, I'd go to a therapist, get it done, because it's much cheaper than surgery, and it's much cheaper than keep going back to the doctor, because we know that they want to keep us coming in so they can make some money, send their kids off to college, which is okay. But there's side effects, and we don't want those side effects. I don't want the side effects. I want to see all your lovely faces next year at the 2024 Health and Wellness Conference. So take care of yourself this year and share this information.
I just have a few little instructions to help me along with this presentation. And first, I definitely got to give honor to God first for being in his house, presenting one of these, amen? And so we thank God for the visionary of this house, Pastor Reaves. We thank you very much for allowing us to be here, and praise God for Christian, who was faithful to the vision that God has given him. Come on, somebody, and give a hand on today. And I'm going to try not to put my preaching voice on. Come on, somebody. I'm going to try my best. But, you know, I've been working with Coastlife Credit Union for 30 years now. 30 years now. And you couldn't be in somewhere unless you love what you do. I say that my profession was I was going to go be a hairdresser. Okay, that's what I love to do. That's what I thought. And if you want to make God laugh, you tell him your plans, right? And so I decided, I found out that was a hobby and not my career. So now I've worked my way through the credit union. I've been there since I was 17. I've been in just about every area, and now I serve as the trainer for Coastlife Credit Union. I'm actually the assistant vice president of the training department, amen? Look, when you're obedient to God, then he'll do the work, amen? And so what I want to share with you on today is one of the things that I am so passionate about. And one of the things that I do want to tell y'all on today, remember that applied knowledge is power. Okay? Y'all got it? We've heard that knowledge is power, and that is correct. That is incorrect. If you don't apply what you have been given, you have no power. Anybody know somebody that knows a lot of stuff? They can always tell you what to do, right? Come on, somebody. But unless you apply that thing to your life, that's how you're going to activate the power in your life. And that's just a few things about me, but I'm going to move on because I told you what, that's it. I'm just going to move on from there. And the clicker's not working for me. Praise God. I am an author as well, though, y'all. I'm telling you, God is He's just doing things, not about finances, that is to come. All right. Here's where I want to take you to. Our mission, and I love the mission that Christian has here. It just lines up. But ain't that like God? He going to line it all up for you. All you got to do is be obedient and walk in it. Amen? And so we talked about the applied knowledge. I do want to tell you that the following presentation is just for educational purposes, okay? Here we go. It's for educational purposes. Individual outcomes may vary depending on your credit score analysis. Somebody say, my credit score analysis. What my financial situation looks like doesn't always mean that's what your situation is going to look like. So the outcome is going to be different. I have a few of my friends and coworkers, they're going to be passing out something because you're going to need to know that. And so, I don't know why the screen is moving around, but you need to know that certain restrictions do apply, okay? This has been tried and proven. Tried and proven. So my instructions for you today is to help me. So when you come up on the screen that says help, I want everybody to shout help. So let's practice that. Help. Oh, come on now. We can do better than that. Somebody say help. Anybody ever been in a position where they needed some help? Okay, so when you see that come up on the screen, if we get it there, amen, then you're gonna see that. So our mission is to change lives by helping each person navigate through their financial journey. And that's learn, grow, and succeed. Learn, grow, and succeed. Somebody say that again. Learn, grow, and succeed. And so our help program, we're going to break that down for you on today. And I look forward to meeting. I'm not going to be able to meet with everybody, but we have people that are trained to help you in this area. But if I can meet with you, I will. Okay? I just like to preference that. So my question here is, do you know where you are? This is what you need to know. We're going to talk about the credit score. I think it's one of the secret that nobody wanted to tell us about. We're always striving to get there, but we don't know how to get there. And if we're there, we don't know how we got there. And if we're not there, we just, you know what? No, I will never be able to do that. Okay, because it's just not good enough. Some people are not worried about their credit score because they say, oh, I'll just pay cash for it. Can anybody go out and buy a $200,000 home? They want to use up their life savings and buy a $200,000 home. A $200,000 home. You may have some people that are able to do that. And if that's great, praise God, because that's what we're going to get to. We want to be debt free. Amen. Because we don't want to be borrowers, we want to be lenders. But so I'm going to show you how to get there. That's what we do. We navigate you to that. But the first thing is knowing where you are. If you don't know where you are, how are you going to get to where you need to be? If you put in your GPS it locates you where you are so that it can give you the directions to get to where you need to be. So the first thing is to know, where are you? And we want everybody to be in the 720 club. 720 and above, A+. Okay, that's what we want everybody to be, because that's where you're going to get the best rates. You're going to get the lower payments. Those are the places that you want to be. You're going to get the best terms. But the lower you go, the lower you go, the higher your interest rate is going to be, the higher your payments, so on and so forth. Somebody say, oh, that was a little weak. I guess everybody in here is a 850. Come on, somebody. If that is not you, but you know somebody, maybe that's not you, but you know what? I know somebody that can benefit for this information, so I'm here from them. I had a woman of God that was in a workshop that I was doing out at one of the churches, and she was good where she was at. But she had another family member that was getting ready to go through bankruptcy. And I said, wait, hold on. Before they do that, tell them to come see me. As though they did, with their hands folded, because they had been told no by everybody. Do you hear what I'm saying? How many of you know that life can happen to anybody? One sickness, okay, can wipe out your bank account. And then it puts you in a situation. And that's what happened. See, your credit report tells your history. I love to tell the kids when I go out to the school, I ask them, how many of you are going to be so excited when you graduate because you ain't going to have to worry about your grades anymore? Oh, they raising their hand and all that kind of stuff. They're really excited, but I have to let them know, guess what? You're going to be graded for the rest of your life, and it's called a credit report. Okay? So one of the things that we do, that H is we help you raise your credit score. It ranges from 300 to 850. Okay? And what do we want to get you to? What's that score I said we want to get you to? 720. And you're just going to keep going up from there. Amen? Because A+ is A+. Isn't that A++++? A+ starts at 720. So sometimes it depends on the state that you're in, but I'm not going to even go into all of that. Let me ask you a question. Do you have high credit card debt or high interest loans? 29.9, 39.99, all of that, right? Do you have any of that? So the family I was telling you about, they had a situation going on, getting ready to file bankruptcy. They didn't think that they can be helped. I said, tell them to come see me. When they came to see me, and they saw that I continued to work through, we had a credit score analysis, and by the way, it's free. We did a credit score analysis. I can see their history just by it verified exactly what they told me. So we began looking at some things. I was giving them some options, and they said, are you really looking at this to see about helping us? I said, absolutely. They walked out of there encouraged, stress-free now, because they're not worried about having to file bankruptcy, not having enough money at the end of their paycheck anymore, because we just saved them $700 a month. Come on, somebody. Somebody say help. So I want you to look at what we have here. I put up some credit cards. About 4 credit cards. The balance is $3,500. Your payments $121. Y'all see that? All of that, I tried to make it real simple. $10,000. It totaled $10,000. You're paying about $386. If that's paying a little bit more than the minimum payment. Okay? But this is what you pay in interest is $6,304 over a period of time for that to be paid off. Through a consolidation, Two different ways. Unsecured, it's going to be a higher payment, yes, but it's going to be much lower than what you're paying now. You're going to pay about $261 unsecured. On a secured payment, that means you use the equity in your home, or you use the equity in a car that you have paid off or almost paid off, and your payment is even a little bit lower. And that's for that $10,000 that you had in credit card debt. For 48 months, it's going to be paid off. Look at the interest the total interest that you pay in that. $2,521.84 versus that $6,304. See, I could talk about interest rates all day long, but when I show you a dollar amount, that does something to you, doesn't it? Because you're saving over half the amount that you would have been paying had you kept those credit cards with a high balance. And since we're right there with the credit cards, let me just say, because some people, have you ever said, oh, I don't like no credit cards. Credit cards are no good. Those things are bad for you. Anybody ever said that? Well, I just want you to know that it's not the credit card, it's the user. Okay, I'm not trying to offend anybody, but the credit card is not going to jump out your wallet. It's not going to jump out your purse and say, here, use me today. Okay? So it does require discipline on our part. Credit cards are a great tool to help you build your credit, but you have to use it wisely. Use it and pay it off. Use it and pay it off. And it's 35%, it's 30% of your credit score. Making your payments on time is 35% of your credit score. So guess what? Your score is going to jump. And I don't want anybody to leave here thinking that, no, they can't help me. Yes, we can. There was a family, husband and wife, they wanted to buy a home. They were living in a very small place. They wanted to buy a home, but they didn't think they were going to do it. Both their scores were lower than 600. I'm not telling you anything that I haven't had permission to share. Both of the scores. They came to see me. See, people, they go by what people have told them, rumors, but you need to go see the professionals for the things that you need. So they came to see me. I talked to them. 6 months later, when I seen them, they said, Lavonne, we just want to let you know that our credit score is now over 720. We're not just getting ready to buy a house, but we're getting ready to buy the land also. 6 months later, I had an invitation to come to their housewarming. Come on, somebody. God has positioned his people to do the things that need to be done. Amen? But we got to do the work, y'all. We got to be obedient and do what he said. So now I want to talk about, are you paying monthly payments too high on your cars? Anybody seeing 24.99? That's buy here, pay here. Build your credit with me, I got you. Come on, somebody. If you're going anywhere outside of a financial institution, they're not regulated. We're regulated. The highest rate that we could charge you is 18% in the state of Texas. Okay? So here is a 24.99% for a $25,000 car. That monthly payment is $687.18 for 6 years. The total amount in interest is $24,475.74. I like to give numbers because when you start, we always talking about I can't save no money. No, you can't because it's going to interest. Your total cost that you're paying for that car is $49,475.74. I've seen this with my own eyes. Come on, somebody. These are things that we need to teach our young people so that they don't fall into the same traps that many of us have. Because it's something I just wanted, I wanted. Anybody had that big brother that had to pick you up from school and always picked you up late? And you just can't wait to have your own car? And you ended up with a lemon, making a high payment? Hello, that was me. because I got tired of waiting. You better wait and learn. Come on, somebody. Oh, I was finna tell somebody else to move it in. What that say? Oh, that was a little weak. I guess everybody here got low car payments. They ain't never had no high payment. Come on, somebody. Help! All right. So, we help you lower your monthly payments. At 5.75 for $25,000, you're going to make a payment of $412.81 for 6 months. For 6 years. The total interest you're going to pay is $4,722.06. The total amount that you end up paying back is $29,722.06. That's a big difference, isn't it? So if I can show you how to go from a C or a D in 6 months to a 720, how many of you will be willing to wait? Come on, really. Be willing to wait for that, to save over about half of the amount that car is even worth. Do you know borrowing money outside of the credit union or bank can cost you thousands of dollars? We just saw that with that car, right? Here's one on $20,000 at 24%. One that we did that. We helped them and put them in a whole nother vehicle. And that mother is been able to reestablish her credit, provide for her children, single parent. Come on, somebody, just by teaching them and sharing with them what we know. Maybe when we refinance you, we're not able to give you that rate because you're not there yet. But one of the things that I love that we do is that if we refinance your vehicle, guess what? We're going to still show you how to get to that A+, because I don't want you to stay there. I'm going to refinance it once we get you over to that 720. I'm going to refinance it so that we can give you the rate you deserve. How does that sound to somebody? It's powerful, and I love what we do. Somebody say, we help protect you against predatory lending practices. Learn, grow, and succeed. What I shared with you is that we have the knowledge, but if you don't apply it, it's just going to be knowledge without power. It's not going to protect you. We want to keep you from those small lending companies. As I said, buy here, pay here, build your paycheck with us. They're charging 300% on payday lenders. People don't go into places because they think they can't help them. But that's not true. My credit score is low, I got bad credit. Nope, I don't believe in that. I believe that God can show you a way, give you the information that you need to help you get to where you are so that you can do the things that you need to do stress-free. I heard Christian talk about stress, and I'm glad he brought that up, because this is one of the areas in the body of Christ that we talk about least, is finances. If you want to increase your tithes in church, get your finances together. One church here locally that we helped, they have 100% tithers in their church. I teach a faith and finance class. They went the whole place went through it. It increased their tithes. It increased what they even do in the church, their giving, and all of that. I want you to understand that gifts gives you the freedom when you don't get caught up in that predatory lending and you have nothing left at the end of the day to even give. Do you hear what I'm saying? It raises your blood pressure, your sugar, and all of that. I'm not that person to talk about. We had the health people that talked about it, but that stress comes from that money. Do you hear what I'm saying? A closed mouth don't get fed. Don't get in the church house and close your mouth and let them know. Don't let somebody know that you got a situation. One last thing I'm going to have y'all to do, and I'm going to be done. I want everybody, if you got something in your wallet, a dollar bill or $100 bill, I want you to take it out for me. I'm not going to ask you for it. Sometimes people are like, what she asking for? Take some money out my wallet for. I know we don't carry money like we used to, right? All right. I want y'all to unfold it, turn it to the back, and we're going to say it all together. What does it say on the back of that money? Oh, that was a little weak. Come on, say it again. In God we trust. He's on the money. Now we need to put him in the money. Come on, somebody. He's on the money. Now we need to put him in the money. In God we trust. If you're working hard for your money, you're working too hard. Your money needs to be working hard for you. Come on, somebody. And the first thing that we have to do is trust in the Lord with all thy heart and lean not to thy own understanding, but in all thy ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. Come on, somebody. Let's put our money, put God back in our money and not just on the money. He's first. He's always been first, and he's going to be last in the name of Jesus. So I hope that you receive, and I hope that somebody will come and see what they need to do in order to get to where they need to be. Amen? Thank you so much. Oh, I'm sorry. Do you have any questions? I love that you asked that question. Y'all, let me tell you something. That's a beautiful thing. If your spouse has the higher credit score, then y'all consolidate everything together. Guess what? We're gonna give you the credit score of your husband. That's the rate we're gonna go by. You're not getting that, but it's gonna help you build. But we're going to go with the higher. Say, for example, you finance a car. It's you were trying to get the car, but your score was too low, and you know that your husband has the better score. Now, you have to take into consideration, we look at all debt, okay? So you have to fall in that area for your debt-to-income ratio, but we'll talk, that's a whole nother story. But the thing about a married couple, we're going to go with the higher of the two, and you get to build along with that. Now, don't everybody just run out and go get you a spouse you ain't supposed to be with just because they got a good credit score. Let me just go on and say that right quick. Because you're going to end up with your credit messed up. Okay? I just had, I had to say that. Anybody else have another question? I love to see some young people in here. I see you back there, but I see some young people. Y'all gonna take these tools and use them, right? You already doing what Daddy say do, right? You're gonna be all right. I'm sorry? If you don't pay the bills accordingly, yes, it will. Okay? Now, and that's a very good question, because you have to be mindful when you get on a loan with somebody. You better make sure that that person is disciplined, because if their credit goes down, your credit goes down. If your credit goes up, their credit goes up. And can I just share this real quick? I don't know where I am, but I just have to say this part. A lot of us love to co-sign for our children, okay? We know that they just getting into the game. They just learning how to do this thing, y'all, okay? And it's not wise to co-sign. It's not. And because the best thing to do is to teach them. And Lavonne, why do you say that? Because I did it to my daughter. And she was mad at her mama because her mama wouldn't co-sign for her. But I said, I will teach you. And I taught her. My child has had 3 cars now, and I have not had to sign for not now one of them. Do you hear what I'm saying? She went in at a 720, and when it was able to buy the car that she wanted. Do you hear what I'm saying? If we teach them, they'll be able to survive if we're not with them. And then I'm going to let y'all read Proverbs 6 on your own where it tells you don't co-sign. I'm just going to go for right there. Anybody got another question? Yes, ma'am. If they have a repo, again, it depends on the situation, but we have helped people that have had repos. We're going to want to sit down one-on-one, have counseling, and talk about where they are. That doesn't mean that you can't be helped. Anytime that you have a repossession, you lose about 200 points off your credit score. Okay? So you want to get with somebody quick. When you're delinquent, you lose about 60 points off your credit score. So again, you want to get with somebody, but it doesn't mean that you can't be helped. Okay? Or whoever, they can't be helped because they can. Okay? Depends on the situation. Anybody else? Credit Karma. Credit Karma it is a good thing to look at because it helps you to monitor your score. Now, does it give you the score that someone else is going to give you? No, because they use Vantiv. It's a different scoring module. And so when you go into a financial institution, it may be higher, it may be lower. There's usually about a 20 points difference, but it gives you all the information. It lets you know when somebody's touched your credit. Identity theft is there, y'all. That's a whole nother subject. But you need to know when somebody's pulling your credit, okay? It's good for monitoring purposes. So if you don't have it, and it's free, but a lot of them, you have it with your credit cards and with your financial institutions. Thank y'all so much. Oh, did you have a question? I'm so sorry. Which one? Oh, I'm not familiar with that one. But I'm going to look into it now that you asked. Okay, yes, well, now let me tell y'all with that. A credit score analysis, anytime somebody pulls your credit, know when you're doing it and what you're getting ready to do, okay? Because anytime you sign for someone to pull your credit, you lose about 5 points off your credit score. You get it back in a year. And if you open up new credit, you lose about 10 points off of your credit score. So it's very wise to know when what you're doing before you do that. You don't want to go out and make all these little purchases and you're getting ready to buy a house. We've had situations where people, they bought their house and they went out and got credit cards and all that kind of stuff. Well, you have 2 signings when you close on a house. And so when you go back to close, they pull your credit again. And guess what? I'm sorry, now you're declined. All that stuff that you bought, you're either going to have to return it or put it in storage. Okay? So it's important to know when to pull your credit. 2 big purchases, buying a car and buying a house. Those are the times where you want your credit score to be at its highest.
So when you see the stock market goes down, don't panic, But unless you have a good financial advisor that is going to sit down with you and take you through this, people will panic, they will withdraw their money, and that's when they really lose. You understand? That's when they really lose. Write it out. There's a concept that is called dollar cost averaging, Keep putting in. And if you have extra money, I tell my clients, if you have extra money now, invest more. Because the stock market will go up. The first mutual fund started in 1924. 1924. And it has been averaging between 9 to 12% up until last year. So yes, it is possible to get 12%. It is possible to get 9%. And this is one of the concepts we teach people, to avoid people touching their retirement accounts. We teach you to have 3 main accounts. Emergency fund. You never know your car tire, what, you woke up like, it was when a couple of days ago. My wife was driving and her tire just went like that. If you have an emergency fund, you don't have to go to your retirement fund, because each time you go there and withdraw from your retirement fund, if you are below 59 and a half, you're going to be penalized. Your emergency fund, your short-term fund, you're planning to buy a house, you're planning to buy a car or a vacation, or your daughter is going to get married. We teach you how to set up those funds so that you don't have to go to your retirement fund when something tragic should happen. I am going to stop there, and if there's any question, anyone of you want to ask me any questions, you're free to ask. You're free to talk to me one-to-one if you don't want to ask a question here. And I just want to thank God again for this opportunity just to share what I do. God bless you. Go ahead, ma'am. A young person can start, their parents can open, at least with our company, you can start with as little as $25 a month for a child. $18, yes. Right, yes. Yes. And we start with as little, college savings, son, $25 a month, $50 a month. It's as simple as that. So you don't need to have $10,000 to start to invest. Yes, if you have it, great. But what about the small Main Street American people? Can they afford $10,000? No. And that's where we come in. We target Main Street Americans, working class people. Go ahead, ma'am. Right. I've come across a lot of people. Yes, they have a 401k. Some they don't. But with their 401k, I've helped people looking at their 401k. If you don't tell your employer what do you want to achieve in your 401k, all you do is just sign. What they're going to do, they're going to put you in a portfolio that is the lowest. For example, you might be able to get 2%, 4%, 6%. If you don't tell them, especially if you are young in your 30s, 20s, 30s, I recommend them to be aggressive. Go for the 6%. Go for the 6%. Like that gentleman I told you. He was getting 1.8, and he was working for over 30 years driving a truck. 1.8% in an IRA. That's crazy. But if people don't educate them, they don't know. They just sign not knowing. And you don't have to do business with me for me to meet with you and I help you. I do that free. I don't have to get paid for it. I want to see people make money, because money is stress. All right, any more questions? No? Yes? Thank you again. God bless you.
But today we're going to talk about anxiety and depression and how very real it is, whether we see it on people or we don't. And I'm going to touch on a little bit about my journey of how I've gotten to today, because to know where I was 5-6 years ago is not the person I am today. I'm still the same person, but I have different coping mechanisms. So we'll start with, and I've already gotten on to Christian that the clicker better work because my social anxiety is really high right now, right? So, so a little bit about me. I was born in Corpus Christi. I was raised in Dallas-Fort Worth. I come from a huge family. My maternal grandmother and maternal grandfather had 16 children together. Not yours and mine and ours. It was all of them together. So I spent many summers, Christmases, holidays coming down here to spend time with friends with cousins, aunts, uncles. Loved Corpus Christi. My parents never allowed us to move to Corpus Christi. So when I got grown and raised my children, I said, I'm not waiting until I get retired. I want to go there now. And I did. So in 2014, I uprooted my life, everything I knew. At 42 years old, moved the family, and we came here to Corpus Christi. And I settled on the island. Being a city girl, it was already cool enough to me that I was moving to the beach, and I would never have to take another 2-week vacation or a week vacation to go hang out at the beach. So I was perfectly content. Go into 2015, of course, all my friends think I'm crazy for moving to Corpus until they realize I live less than 2 minutes from the beach. So according to pictures, and you can see this, you would never identify that this was a girl that was struggling with anxiety and depression because pictures don't show that, right? The neighbor next to you. How many, if we're going to be real in God's house, have suffered with anxiety or depression? Raise your hand. No judgment. Okay. So we can say, well, she doesn't look depressed. Well, no one's ever going to put a sad picture on, right? Unless they're crying. So I had always struggled with my weight. I was one of those that, I like tortillas. I like pan dulce. I like Dr. Pepper. I like chocolate. But that was coping mechanisms, what we've talked about earlier, right? So 2015 happens, living here, I'm working. 26 comes, I got laid off at the end of 2015 and was going through some different challenges in life. And if you'll notice in the picture, there was a good old 12-pack of beer and Fireball shots. Well, guess what? Alcohol contributes to depression. Alcohol increases anxiety. Not while you're drinking, after. People didn't know that. I didn't know that, right? So I start working for King's Hawaiian, yes, the roll company. I was here in Corpus Christi. I was traveling from Victoria all the way down to Laredo, going to the various HEBs and looking at their displays, seeing how I could help them increase sales. And what that was allowing me to do was feed my depression that I wasn't really addressing, right? And past traumas, things like that, because they were offering me, guess what? We'll pay for your appetizer. We'll pay for your dinner. We'll pay for your dessert. We'll pay for everything. We'll pay for your hotel. We'll pay for your drinks. If you want to go take a client out, we'll do all of this. Bad habits, right? Bad habits, not dealing. So then I would do all those things, and then all of a sudden, I'd start having anxiety attacks. So in 2017, I personally ended up in the hospital. My children were grown children at the time, and they were away. My partner was away, and so I said I was going around to different HEBs, and I could feel like my body just reacting, like something wasn't right. So every HEB I'd go to on that particular day, I would go to the pharmacy and I would have them do my blood pressure. And I would take a picture of it, do my little work there, then go to the next one. And I would, still wasn't feeling well. I had a girlfriend back home and I was sending her pictures going through cell phone, like, I don't feel good. What is going on with me? I was starting to freak out because I was by myself, kids were away, all of that. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm only 45 years old. What is about to happen to me? So I get back home that night to Corpus, end up at Bayview Medical over off Rodfield. And that is a picture of me. Most people that see it now, they're like, that doesn't even look like you. Well, that's because depression and anxiety and stress, unless you really see it, you can't tell if people are dealing with that, right? And the words that I wrote was, lastly, after all the tests were, I'm blind as a bat too, were run and x-rays were done and blood tests were done, bottom line is I need to make some better eating choices, exercise more, not let others get the best of me, not worry about how I can or can't fix things, or even make people see what they choose to see, good or bad. And I made a deal with God that day. I'm done. I'm done making everybody else happy. I will do what I can because I've never come from a place of malice or ill intent, but I can't keep fixing everybody if I'm not even going to work on myself. So that was the journey that got me to where I am today. So the first thing I did is I realized that most of us don't even realize, and we've learned some of it today, is that gut health has a lot to do with depression and anxiety. All those toxins that you're eating, all those sugars that you're drinking, all that alcohol that you're intaking, all those things affect gut health. Gut health ultimately affects brain activity, mental status. You forget more. There's things that particular foods, especially processed foods, have to do with the body, right? So I started my journey, and one thing I had to do is really identify why was I doing some of the things and why would I react some of the ways that I did. And that was really hard. I heard my pastor in the past couple of years say that you show me somebody with a high level of anxiety, and I will show you somebody who was not raised with a lot of grace or forgiveness. And literally, it hit me over the head. It was like, oh my gosh, no matter what would happen, iron fist, all those things, the heavy hands, those kind of things, I had gotten to a point in my life with my children to try to make everything better so that we didn't have to deal with any errors, right? So I was always stressed out trying to make sure, oh my gosh, this, and oh my gosh, that. And I had literally run myself into the ground. So once I kind of identified that, I started the journey. I decided that I needed to work on my gut health. And what that started with was with Plexus. And that is something that I really had to focus on because I was the girl that got up and drank a 32-ounce Dr. Pepper for breakfast and drank up to 3 of them by noon, right? Because I loved Stripes when I first moved here, and those chorizo tacos. Even though I know they're horrible for you, they were amazing for breakfast. So then, fast forward, I decide I'm gonna start focusing on my gut health. So I start losing weight. In the first 6 months of doing Plexus, I ended up losing close to 60 pounds. And that was just through eating habits. That was just trying to take the Dr. Pepper and turn it to water. And instead of eating 3 Oreo cookies, you know what? I can reward myself with 1. It was changing habits. What came from that was when I started working on my gut health, well, let me back up. So when I was put in the hospital, I had been raised around all my aunts and uncles my whole life. And what I saw was them always taking medications. They had to take medications for blood pressure. They had to take medications for cholesterol. They had to take medications for anxiety or depression or different types of things. And when I was given that diagnosis and told that I had to do that, that is what changed my mind. I am not going to sit here and be my elders and put these into my body when I know that if I just change some things, I can help myself without all of those medications inside of me. So that's why I also chose Plexus. So the first year I ended up losing, within the first 6 months I lost 60 pounds. Within the first year I lost 100. And what that meant was thanks, thank you. It was one of those things that I didn't set out with the intention of that. What I set out was to focus on my mental, what was driving me to do the things that I was doing, to react the way that I was reacting, to have the anxiety attacks, to have the deep depression. And what I realized was when I cut out alcohol, because I couldn't drink anymore if I was on blood medication, right? And all these different medications I couldn't drink. So what I found was when I stopped drinking alcohol, for me, and I'm not saying you can never drink alcohol, but when I really cut back, I wasn't having the stress that I was. My body wasn't reacting to things the way that it would react if I had been drinking a few days before or a week before. In 2018, what I decided to do is I had already started working on obviously my health and eating and exercising, but in 2018 I made the decision to start walking on the beach. And that was a step, that was a progress for me because it was something that I needed to get moving. I needed to avoid the depression, and a lot of times we make excuses as to why we can't get out. I don't have no one to walk with. Well, guess what? You can still walk. You don't have to have somebody with you. You can put in a headset. You can just sit there and think. You can pray. You can meditate. You can do whatever. But I had to stop. I had to stop making the excuses that I didn't have anyone with me to go and do these things. So in 2018, I decided to start walking. 2019. And I decided to join the gym where I was going to lift weights and I was going to make the time to build the muscles that I was trying to, lose weight, but lean them up. And I share the progress pictures because in July of 2017, you'll notice that I had a swimsuit on and I looked like a hot mess back then. And then about 18 months later, I put that same swimsuit on and I keep it. I still have that swimsuit. It doesn't fit. It hangs off me. There's no way I can, but it's a reminder. It's a mental reminder to me of where I used to be, right? So it became, that was part of the journey. When we deal with anxiety and we deal with stress and we deal with depression, a lot of times we have to get to the root cause of that. And in doing so, I obviously threw myself back into church. I've always been keep God first, you'll never be last type of, but I had really kind of fallen back from him. I hadn't had him at the forefront of my life at that point because I was just trying to make it. I was busy going all over the state of Texas. I was busy being a grandma. I was trying to make sure the kids were good. I was trying to make sure the family was happy. But yet nobody was worried about if Melina was happy. And you know what? It's nobody else's business if Melina is happy because guess what? Melina's got to make Melina happy first, right? No matter if you're a couple, if you as an individual are not in your best state, you cannot be your best for anybody else. 2019, went to the gym, started doing that. Guess what happens? 2020 hits. Everything goes on lockdown. Well, thankfully, because I had already been on this journey for a few years, I did not suffer from the anxiety I would have suffered from had I not already been on that journey. So in 2020, the gym still shut down, all the gyms shut down. I did have one that I could go to that was private, so I kept myself in that gym. I also continued to focus on eating. I will tell you, I am the first person to eat a 4-pack of Reese's Cups in a heartbeat, no questions asked. But I realized that I couldn't be that person anymore. Yes, I may be able to do it once every 6 weeks, but I can't do it every other day just because that tastes good, right? So in 2020, I decided to try to really focus on what I had practiced, doing the habits, creating the discipline, creating the motivation, being self-motivated. A lot of times we as women, like I said, we want to have a partner in crime to go walk with us. We want to have a partner in crime to go to the gym. But at the end of the day, your partner in crime is not going to have to answer for your health. You have to answer for your health, mentally and physically. In 2020, I was supposed to be celebrating my 30-year high school graduation. And because of COVID, obviously it was shut down. But one of my goals when I started was I just wanted to be the girl that I was in high school on the inside. I wanted to be happy. I wanted to be go-lucky and truly mean it, not be doing it from a place of, well, this is what they expect from me because this is who, what they've come to know. And with that came with a lot of boundaries, having to learn how to set boundaries. And what I mean by that is a lot of times we as a society, and even my family, extended and all, well, they're just your cousin, or that's your aunt, or that's your uncle, or that's your mom, or that's your dad, or that's your, okay, if they're not healthy, if it is not a healthy relationship, and it is toxic, it is okay to separate yourself and say, this is not a good place for me. That doesn't mean you don't love somebody. It doesn't mean that you wish them ill feelings. It means that I love me enough to say this is not healthy for me and my mindset, that I can step away effectively and be okay with that. And a lot of people struggle with it. I see it. I have girlfriends call me and they will talk to me and have you talked to them about it? Well, yeah, they don't listen. Okay, well, then you're enabling them to talk to you that way, or you're enabling them by not setting the healthy boundaries. And I know that's a very sensitive subject when it comes to families, but the reality is God did not put us on this earth to be miserable for anybody. Anybody. He wants us as individuals to be happy. He wants us to truly, when we're smiling in the pictures, we're truly meaning it, not just because it's a picture being taken, right? So 2021, I wanted to get to my 30th year reunion, and I wanted to be that same girl, and that truly meant it. And so the bottom left corner is my graduating class. It was 1/3 of them that showed up. But I was able to go back to Dallas-Fort Worth and truly have that genuine, happy smile. Now, with all that being said, when I talk about letting go of anxiety and depression and setting those healthy boundaries, that does come with loss. That comes with loss with relationships. It comes with loss with friendships. And it doesn't have to be an ill loss. It just means that, you know what, they're no longer a part of the journey. God has used them as a vessel to get me here, but now it's time to let them go. And that is not fun, right? But what Jesus went through wasn't fun. So if having to let some people go, or having to say, you know what, you're kind of dramatic and I'm not going to be a part of this, and turning around and walking away, it doesn't mean that you're judging somebody else. You're basically saying, I'm not judging you. I just know I don't want to partake in this just because so-and-so is. So anxiety, for me, I still struggle with it, but I can identify it now. But that's because I don't intake tons of alcohol. That's because I'm able to effectively communicate and know that it's okay to talk. And if there's somebody that I need to talk to that I feel personally can't handle the truth and we can't have that conversation, then we just have to separate ourselves and say, okay, until we're ready to have that conversation, I'm not gonna make myself, if nobody else is gonna make themselves uncomfortable for somebody else, why do I have to be uncomfortable for somebody else? I don't. So a few things that helped me, and I say all of this because anxiety and depression is so real. Who all heard about Twitch recently taking his life? Because yes, people were aware, but he didn't have the coping skills to be able to reach out again and say, you know what, this is what's going on. This is what's happening. For me, I knew that next step was probably going to be full-fledged depression to where I would not want to. And anybody that would have known me then, anyone that knows me now, knows that I'm not that person. I'm a very happy, I like to be positive, I like to help out in the community. So when 2022 hit last year, it was my first full year in the business community. And what happened is when I really focused, starting in 2017, on my health, my gut health, which helped me focus on my brain health, which then helped me focus on boundaries and coping mechanisms and things that make me happy, and listening certain kinds of music or watching certain TV shows. Whatever helped me get me into that happy place, I was able to replace that instead of putting food or alcohol or people or things like that. And what that did for me last year was it helped me in the business community really get involved in the community, because it made me realize that so many people want and need to feel involved, to fill a void. And for me, it was, no, I just feel this good that I'm willing to do whatever, right? Because my mind was right. So a few steps you can take is you have to make the decision for you, not for your children, not for your grandchildren, not for your spouse, not for your parents, not for your aunts, uncles, cousins, not for grandma, nobody. You have to make it for you. And when you make it for you, you have to be first and foremost in your decision. You have to take accountability for yourself. You can't blame it that mama was, she made meatloaf last night, so I ate 2 plates. No, you can eat 1 plate and not have to, but you have to take self-accountability. You have to focus on your gut health. You have to make consistency key. You can't drink water today and in 6 weeks say, okay, I drank another glass of water today. Consistency, right? Can't get up today and walk 3 miles and in 6 weeks walk 3 miles again and say, well, I haven't lost any weight. No, consistency. I do have a rule in my own personal life that you never skip more than 1 day. Never. And so in my head, if I skip, when I wake up and I don't really feel like working out or going for a walk, I tell myself, ooh, I better go, because if something happens tonight and I can't go tomorrow, then I broke my rule of skipping 2 days. So a lot of times it encourages me, self-motivation, self-accountability, choice for me to say, okay, you know what, let me go ahead and get up. Find a trusted friend or family member that you can share your struggles, share your talks with, and know that it's kept in confidentiality and that nobody's sitting there judging you. Because the worst thing anybody wants to do is share and then what? Feel like they're being judged or that somebody doesn't understand. Take small actions. You can exercise, which I did do. Individual therapy, which I did end up getting back into. Ladies group. Practice your spirituality. Listen to podcasts. You need to be able to communicate openly with friends and family. You need to set those healthy boundaries. And when I say I understand how hard it is, I have 2 adult children that I was not always probably doing the right thing for them. I was actually probably hurting them. And when I had to set those healthy boundaries, it caused some rifts. But now everybody's good. We had those Keep It Real Jesus talks. We're good. But those healthy boundaries helped me, because I can't be the best for anybody if I'm not the best for me. Recognize your triggers. Recognize what triggers your anxiety or your depression. Is it alcohol? Is it the news? Are you one of those that turns on the news and watches every single thing that's negative in the world? Well, guess what? You're eventually going to be negative, or you're going to be sad, or you're going to be, depressed. Family members. And I say that because we all have them. If somebody in this room can raise their hand and say they don't have one issue with one family member, I don't think it could happen. Right? So, setting those healthy boundaries, recognizing the triggers with friends. Sometimes friends, they're a season. They are a season. And you don't want to hurt them because you've known them for 10 years or you've known them for 20. You don't have to hurt them. You can slowly navigate your way out because you realize that they're no longer on the same alignment. And then your environments, being on the island for the first 6.5 years of my life, I was out there in a crazy environment. And that's coming from a girl from Dallas-Fort Worth. So for me, I had to recognize that it probably wasn't always the best environment for me to be out there. And then know that you're never alone. And that's probably the biggest thing for me, is that people have to recognize that it's okay to, we as a society feel like if we ask for help, that we are showing weakness. When in actuality, when we ask for help, we're showing strength. And that, once I made that connection in my head, can't nobody tell me nothing. I'm going to tell y'all right now, if people that know me in this room know, you can't tell me nothing because I know what God tells me. I know. So, and then don't beat yourself up. Don't expect to get up in the morning, do a bunch of exercises, quit eating all the incorrect things. Imperfect progress is better than no progress. If you get up and do 5 sit-ups, and that's 5 more than yesterday, that's progress. If you're able to reach out to a family member and say, you know what, I'm feeling really sad right now, can we talk about it? That's progress, especially if you've never asked that of somebody. If going out with colleagues and not drinking alcohol that evening, that's progress. Any progress is better than no progress. And then, so I put my barcodes up here, my QR codes. I am one of those that I post on Facebook daily. A lot of people thought that when I started my journey that I was doing it to help others, and really I was doing it for myself, to hold myself accountable. I wanted to be able to go back to my Facebook and see how many days a week I was working out, how many days was I eating really bad food. That was an accountability for me. What I came to find over time was that other people were being motivated by that. And not that that's not great. It was great. I'm glad I'm helpful for them. But they have to be on their journey as well. I can motivate as much as I want them, but I have to be self-motivated, just like each of us do.
I am going to attempt to give some valuable knowledge. I will tell a little bit about myself and help you all understand why, what, when, and where. Just to be brief, I know this clicker has been our nemesis today. So we're gonna get that right. And whenever they have that uploaded, it's okay, you can go ahead. I'll just introduce myself while you uploading things. So I am actually from Corpus. I was born here from the north side and west side. My family is Davis and Clays. We are many. I moved away when I was a boy, when I was 12. And I spent the majority of my life in New York City. So I'm a Brooklyn kid. My kids are from Brooklyn, these two guys. And we recently just moved back to Corpus. As the pandemic hit, New York City was no place to be for someone who wanted to be sane. It was crazy. But coming back, I am so grateful and so blessed. It wasn't my first choice. Coming back to the place that traumatized you is never the first choice you want to go back to, right? But like we said, God had other plans. And once we got here, it was like, oh, I see what you're doing. Okay, I get it now. No resistance. I was really resistant at first. And so in New York, I've done a lot of things. In my 20s, I had a music production company. We were called Art for Money. We were pretty popular, we were pretty awesome, but I was also super depressed. So I went through this whole phase of not only being a musician, being in the scene, you know, people all around you, everybody knows you. Everybody thinks that that's like, oh, you got it all going on, it's awesome. But when you're depressed, I didn't get any of that. So I had to take a hard look at Omar. And I was the age of 26, and my oldest son was really young at the time, and I noticed that I was just being a terrible father. And I was reflecting a lot of who I was through the acts of how, you know, I couldn't treat him the same way, that my father was not present for me. So I had to make some serious changes. I couldn't live this life anymore because in this industry, I wasn't getting home until like 6 in the morning, 7 in the morning, and that was regular. And granted, we are in New York City, so it's a different pace of life. So just to put that out there. But with that journey, I put myself through medical and sports rehab massage therapy school when I was 29, specifically because I knew I needed to make some changes. And I was discerning enough, and I've always had a really intimate relationship with my own consciousness and with my own self. I am always reflecting on who Omar is, what Omar has done, and then being able to make changes. And that's been one of my greatest gifts, is the gift of observation, self-observation. And so once I went to school for medical and sports rehab massage therapy, that changed everything because I started to learn everything about the human body. It's pretty much pre-med. I had to learn every single thing in the anatomy book, and it changed my life. It changed how I saw myself. It changed how I viewed the structure that we are in as a consciousness, as a being. The human being itself is a very dynamic system. Like, so dynamic, we're still figuring out things about how amazing we are. And once again, God already thought about this entire system, right? It's perfect. So going back to a lot of things that were said earlier, knowing that your system is perfect and it was made in the image of the Creator through consciousness, then therefore all these other ideas are just things because we already have all the answers inside of us. But moving forward, I started a company. It's called Crashbell. And everyone's like, what is Crashbell? That's so weird. What does that mean? And I'm like, well, what happens when you crash something into a bell? Yeah. What happens? It makes a noise, right? So if it's making a noise, do you know where sound goes? Everywhere. It literally goes in all directions into infinity. So what I'm doing is making a noise on this planet that is going to change the frequency of what we are doing here today. And the logo itself, I'm really big into what is called sacred geometry and vortex mathematics. That is, the triangles are actually the vibration of 528 hertz, which is also the same vibration of self-love. So when you love yourself, you vibrate at a high rate. When you don't love yourself, you vibrate at a low rate. And we're going to speak more about vibrations, how that actually affects your body. But with that said, I also wanted to just do one quick thing. And this is going to be a sidebar, but I also want some engagement and some interaction. And honestly, it's kind of selfish. I want some followers. So who has their phone out right now, right? Okay. That name, Crashbell, no matter what social media platform you are on, type it in real quick. We're going to do some Jeopardy. Do, 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 do. So the reason I'm asking you to just give us a follow, because I'm really about community. I've built some amazing communities in Brooklyn, New York. Eric Adams, who is now the mayor of New York, he is a good friend of mine, and we've built some really good things in New York together. I'm looking to do the same thing here. I'm looking to do it in all communities, but specifically in the Black and brown community. Why? Because we matter, and we are the world, right? So therefore, it's really important that I get you all to help me to help us, right? The more numbers that I have, the more numbers that we have. So this is a community effort. I need all of you to be a part of the growth that we're bringing here in Corpus. Now, a little bit about what we do, because I do want this to make a lot of sense, because I will get into some really, really good details. And the first thing I want you to really understand is that my company itself, we are a holistic wellness center. We do a lot. We have medical and sports rehab massage therapy. That's not like a spa. It's like a clinic where we will come and assess you, check out your body. You know, like what young Ryan was saying, physical therapy, our practices are hand in hand. We're just doing something a little bit different than he is to help the whole system of the human body. But the thing that is really, really significant about that is the reason I started a massage therapy clinic was because back in New York, once I graduated from the Swedish Institute, I started my practice and I had 2 offices in Manhattan. I started the practice in 2013 and COVID was the thing that shut us down. So that was saddening. It broke my heart. I was scared. I was freaking out. I lost everything in a day. Super scary. But what it did was it allowed me to go inside. It allowed me to reshift and then make some adjustments. But getting back to my point, the medical massage therapy practice led me into so many other arenas in my life. Now, what I learned as a massage therapist was there's so much more about this human experience that we're just not thinking about. We just mentioned a lot up here, right? We talked about the health of yourself and what you're doing to work out, what you're doing as far as activity. We talked about the stress of even finances and how finance is really a lot of the times what you're stressing about. And then we talked about the family, and now we're talking about loving yourself and being your best self. And so with all that said, I realized in my practice, we started poking around on people. Hey, you got a trigger point here, you got some pain here. Okay, cool, let's take a look at it. But I wanted to approach it in another way because I know all this stress and all this accumulation was happening for people. So what I asked is what are you feeling whenever I press here? What comes up for you? What thoughts are going on in your mind right now? And let me just help you understand. It was their trauma. And I'm going to explain that in a little bit with a little bit of science. But I'll give you the basics. Your stress is cortisol. It's connected to thoughts of your perception, which builds on emotions. And if you are not letting those emotions go through the system that you have called your digestive system, they get trapped in your body. And your body needs to store it somewhere. So it stores it in the place that you feel that pain. So any pain in your body right now that you experience, guarantee you it's emotional trauma. And the thing that I know is, well, because I say that because I know through the practice of dealing with different people, we were able to see their trauma released from their body through the practice that we do. Now, there was a situation that happened where a couple of people, they would experience such intense trauma that they would literally start throwing punches while on the table because their body was reliving that moment once the trigger was released from their body, that emotion flooded in their system, those chemicals went to their brain, it activated that memory, and they thought they were being traumatized from the same point that it happened in the past. And that was a key point for me. That showed me, we need to let things go. And we need to find healthy ways to know how to let things go. But there's so much connected to the thing that it's almost impossible if we're not dealing with the mind, the body, which activity, the emotions, and the spirit. That's the one thing people try to leave out. They try to leave out the whole spiritual component. Let me just go work out, right? But then they're working out and they're thinking all about stress. What? That's not healthy. That's actually only causing more stress in your body. And then they say, let me change my diet. But they don't realize that the chemicals they've already produced and the serotonin and the neurotransmitters in their gut are habitually formed from the things that you've been eating for the past 10 years. So you will backslide, so to say, right? Why? Because you're not aware that your system is teaching you the habit. It's making you do it. The bacteria is making you crave that food. So think about that. Now, moving on, we do a lot of other things at our office, but I won't get too much into that because I really want to get into this topic. But I wanted to help you all understand that through me learning, I started to write curriculum. I started to teach kids. We started to work in schools, which we're working in West Oso now. We're looking to build with more of the communities here in the schools, but teaching the kids how not to do what we did, right? So they can have a future where they can then teach their kids, and then we can have a cataclysm of generations that literally change this planet. So that's the point, making a sound, Crashbell, right? It's not about me, it's about us. So let's move into tension, stress. The first thing we have to understand about tension and stress is that it comes from your perception. Not everybody stresses out about the same thing. Not everybody thinks the same thing is a bother. There's this doctor. He's an amazing doctor. If you ever get a chance to look him up, Dr. Bruce Lipton. He is changing the way that medicine has to operate because he's calling them out on the things that they're doing wrong. Now, he has this point, and I quote him, "The moment you change your perception is the moment you rewrite the chemistry in your body." What does that mean for y'all, real quick? Anybody? What does that mean? Yeah, and then a negative thought then creates a what? But let's just take it even deeper, right? Because we have belief systems, right? Our belief systems and our value systems could not necessarily be right. It can be something we learned from somebody that taught us that because that's what they knew. But what if they taught us it from their stress or from their trauma, right? Is that now healthy? It's not. It's just an adverse reaction. And so what happens is we have to understand that if we don't change the way that we see things, the way we see ourselves, you will produce chemicals in your body that's going to have your system react in a specific way. You cannot deny it. Now, what I want to talk about is the sympathetic nervous system. This is what I do. I like talking on anatomy. This is what my whole company is based off of. Who's ever heard of this system? Okay. Now, I hate to say this, but the ones who haven't, you got to know. If you don't know what this is, you're not in control. You are out of control. Why? Because you have no idea what's happening. That's like saying you know something, but then you never studied it, but you talk about it a lot, right? Come on now, stop it. So with this system, oh man, that's actually supposed to like play a little, that little dude, it's a video, and it's supposed to be playing and moving and doing stuff, and it's just not. So I don't know what's going on. Oh, there we go. There it is. So the sympathetic nervous system is your response for making local adjustments to the body, and it shuts down vital systems when it's activated. Now let me just help you understand what that means. You need this system in order to be human, because it tells you a threat. Like let's say if we're in the wild and a lion's creeping up and we see it, right? Your system does one thing. It says threat, danger. You dilate your pupils because they get bigger because you need to see more light. It begins to tell your digestive system, we don't need to digest nothing right now. So it stops all of your digestion. And it sends all the blood that your heart is pumping from the digestion to the muscles. Why? Because you may have to fight that lion or you may have to run away. And that's the point. This system is built to keep us safe. But there's a specific thing about this system that can harm you. This system is only made to produce cortisol, because cortisol causes your muscles to get tension. In order for me to, let's everybody flex their right muscle real quick, flex it. In order for you to even squeeze that muscle, you need cortisol. It has to activate and trigger the muscle fibers to squeeze. But look, if you are habitually living in the sympathetic nervous system on a daily basis and you are producing cortisol constantly, you're killing yourself slowly, because cortisol kills. Stress kills. We've heard that, right? That's the thing. It's called cortisol. It's a hormone. It's the stress hormone. When you have too much of it, it not only eats at your vital organs, it lowers your immune system. It actually eats at your brain and eventually causes Alzheimer's. Why? Why would we do that, right? This sounds crazy. So the goal is not only to know, right? Because we said knowledge is power, but now what? We have to apply. We have to regulate ourselves. We have to know what's going on. We have to know that whenever we are in a stress mode, we have to know that even if we're thinking while we're washing the dishes and you talking bad about somebody in your mind and you having a fake conversation, how many of y'all did that? Y'all sitting there and y'all just y'all giving somebody the business and they're not even there. You're sitting alone at home. That moment is causing cortisol because you can feel your heart race, right? You can feel your palms getting a little sweaty. That's what the system is doing. So the system is there to help you understand where you are. So if you ever are starting to have a conversation, or maybe you're in a situation and your heart starts beating, your breath gets a little, your palms get sweaty, and then you suddenly can't think because it also shuts down your frontal cortex, so you literally can't think, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a second. It's trying to tell you, yo, you feel fear and like you're in danger right now. But what if it's like an email? Like, are you really in danger for an email? Like, you're not about to die because someone sent you an email. There's no lion that's going to pop out the email and attack you. It's your perception of how you receive the email. Now, going back to the perception, based on your trauma from your past, it may not even be a threat, but you recognize it as one because of something that reflected in your life from the past. Now, that's another conversation, and we don't got time for that one today. But my whole point to you is to show you. Oh, did I do that? I didn't do that. I couldn't have done that. If I did that, I don't know how to work this thing. Did I do that? I didn't do that. All right, there we go. We back. And if the video doesn't play, let's see. Oh, I did do that. Let me just go ahead. So we're gonna have lessons on the clicker next time, everyone. Speakers, we're going to get that in. Okay, but anyways, the reason I wanted to tell you about the sympathetic, because there's the opposite effect. There's the parasympathetic, and that's relaxation and digestion. The sympathetic is fight or flight, literally, fight or flight. Now this, rest and digest response, it releases hormones to feel calm, and it relaxes the muscles in your body. That even means your internal organ muscles. Your heart is a muscle, right? So this system is whenever you're able to soothe yourself, calm yourself, feel better, period. Think about it. This is relaxation, but it's also peace, right? Because whenever you relax, you're at peace. You're not like worried about getting up suddenly and having to save your life. You're not, you're at peace. So the goal is to get back here, always. Every animal, FYI, we're animals. If you look at any animal on the face of this planet, what do they do the most? They be chilling, right? They be sleeping, laying down. But what do they do as soon as they wake up? What do we not do as soon as we wake up? But you know what a stretch does, right? It gets that blood flowing. It gets those muscle fibers to release so it can release the cortisol and put it back in your bloodstream so it can send it back to your heart, which then sends it to the kidneys, which then sends it to the digestive system, and then you use the bathroom, and then it's out of you. How about that? It's a whole system. We just don't know about it. So, in order for you to get into this phase, you actually have to tell yourself, I'm safe. I'm okay. I'm good. But you also have to tell yourself that breathe deep. Calm down. I love you. You matter. Because these things make your body recognize we are safe. We are good. Because every single cell in your body is listening to you like you listening to the voice of God. Have you thought about that? Every single cell in your body is listening to your thoughts and your emotions like you listen to the voice of God. And in fact, your body is a multiverse. I wish I had time to explain that, but I don't. Now, I will explain this because this is what you need to know. Distress is the main focus of the sympathetic nervous system. But there's also a thing called eustress. That's positive stress. You know that feeling whenever you're about to go to the dance and you're like, ooh, I got butterflies, I'm about to get it in. And then on your way there, you kind of get anxiety. That's eustress. That's good stress. It actually allows you to focus. If you teach your kid how to get into eustress before a test, it actually helps their brain to remember the things that they study. But if they get into distress, which normally happens, they forget everything. And this is why. Distress and the amygdala have a very, very intimate relationship. The moment that you feel distress or a threat or endangered, your brain is going to fire. in the amygdala. It's saying threat, threat, threat. So what that's going to do, it's going to cause the heart rate to rise and release cortisol, because again, your body needs to get out of danger. The stress hormone that creates tension in muscles and inhibits other vital processes. So whenever you have too much cortisol, you're cutting off all the stuff that keeps you alive. Now, it fires the amygdala, that came out right, the amygdala, and it shuts down the prefrontal cortex. Do you guys know what your prefrontal cortex is? It's the forehead part of your brain. Don't slap yourself like I just did, plus I just messed up my hat. But it's the forehead part of your brain, and it comes to about the part where the temple is. And so that whole part of your brain, it shuts down. And I'll tell you what the brain does here in a second. But it also damages brain cells when there's too much stress in the body. And that's what I was talking about with the Alzheimer's. It literally eats your brain cells. So that's not a good thing. It also is associated with anxiety, depression, and mental illness. Why? Like, why would we ever want to stress too much if we have this going on, right? And then it inhibits your immune system production. Now, let's think about this, right? We just experienced COVID, right? There was all fear. We're all fear during that time. Now, if fear is related to distress and being in danger, and if fear is inhibiting your immune system, and if everything that they show on the news and on the TV is instilling fear within us, what do you think is happening during this whole time of COVID? Did our immune system boost as a species, or did it decrease? Right? So you got to be really, really careful and really, really aware and conscious of what you're taking in. That's through the eyes, through the ears, through the mouth. Because we was talking about eating, right? Did y'all know that y'all can watch something and it can produce chemicals in your body that will resemble the food that attacks you? I know, right? It's crazy how amazing we are. But when you learn all this, it helps you to raise your consciousness. The prefrontal cortex is the command center and processes abstract thought, governs planning, complex cognitive behavior, personality and expression, decision-making, and moderates social behavior. So whenever you shut down the prefrontal cortex because you're in stress or you're afraid or you feel just weird, you can't think right. You can't even be in community right because your social behavior it's awkward. People are going to recognize it. You can tell when someone's distressed. They seem distressed. Now, the one that I want to talk about is decision making. Why do we live in a society that think that stress helps them make decisions and makes them work better? I work harder when I'm under stress. You literally don't. You literally can't even use your brain when you're under stress thinking that you work hard. It's an illusion, and it's something that was taught to us specifically to keep us on a lower level, FYI. Now, the fun part is, whenever you become aware of this, it helps you to really know more about who and what you are. And this is the beautiful part. Did you guys, ladies, guys, did you all know that you have 3 brains? Nobody said that today, right? Well, we talked about it, but we just didn't mention, we didn't put the brain to it. But with that said, let me just make sure that I'm still on point with my notes, because you know that is a thing. So now we're going to move into consciousness. We're going to move into the fact that you do have 3 brains. This is actually the 3rd brain. The head is the 3rd brain. Who could tell me what the 2nd brain is? They mentioned it earlier. Melina talked about it. The gut. It's called the enteric nervous system. It has a neurological complex that attaches from the very tip of your esophagus and aligns the entire intestinal system to the tip of your anus. So what that means is that you have a brain in your gut that is called the gut brain, and it has this saying, maybe you heard of it, trust your gut. Who ever heard of that? What about like follow your intuition? And the reason I say this is because the gut brain runs off feelings, which is serotonin. So whenever you have that gut feeling, it's serotonin releasing in your body that's communicating, because it doesn't work in time and space. It can sense the future. Y'all understand that? Can you like bear with me here? It can sense the future. Let me just hear y'all say that. my belly can sense the future. Now you see how amazing you are real quick though? You could tell the future if you listen to your intuition. Because, this is what happens with me. My brain will say, grab your wallet. And I'm like, I'm good. And then I get to the store and I'm like, man, something told me, right? That's what we always say, something told me. It's not something, it's you. You told you. You told you because you knew the future. We're multidimensional beings. We have to remember that. And I can't get into too much of that, but I just wanted to mention it. But let's just look at how the brain works. The frontal cortex is motor control, problem solving, concentrating, planning, speech, and smell. Have you ever been so angry where you can't talk? Well, I'm just telling you now, this is why. Because anger shuts down the front of your brain that allows you to move your lips. So whenever you're mad, don't go out and try to talk to somebody, right? Or whenever you see someone mad, don't try to be like, hey, just calm down. They'll be like, don't tell me to calm down, right? That's exactly what they're gonna say. We've all been there. So it's important that you know that because it doesn't do you justice if you're trying to communicate or be in action whenever you're feeling this way. But one of the things that I really wanted to just point out, because the list here, it's about everything that you do every day. Now let's just go through it. It delays instant gratification whenever you're under stress. It regulates your emotions, but if you're under stress, how are you going to regulate your emotions, right? It lets you plan, but if you're under stress, how are you going to plan, right? It shuts it down. So you need to not be in stress, and if you want to do all these things to solve problems, right? Making long-term goals, balancing short-term rewards for the future goals, changing your behavior when situations change. Have you ever been in a situation where you were mad and you were on your way somewhere and you're like, I gotta switch it up. I can't walk into space like this. You need that part of the brain to help you do so. But if you stay like, I'm just gonna stay mad the whole way, then guarantee you're shutting down all these vital processes. Seeing and predicting the consequences of your behavior, which is self-accountability, right? And then being able to consider many streams of information, and also being able to focus your attention. Now, let's go to the attention part, because a lot of times we are so quick to give some of these young kids these pills and these meds because they have ADD or ADHD or whatever, right? But if we help them to focus their attention by helping them to realize maybe they're nervous, maybe they're afraid, maybe they're feeling out of whack, then we can help them to understand how to use all of themselves instead of fitting into the box of, sit down, shut up. Because that's what they tell us in school. I work in the schools and I hear it all the time. So with that said, can I just ask before we get into the other stuff, what is consciousness? What does that mean? What does it mean to be conscious? Yeah, those are some good words. Alert, aware, present. Consciousness can be defined as knowing that I am. Now, that is consciousness. Now, to be self-conscious, or not self-conscious, but self-aware of your consciousness means that you're always what is the word? Self-reflecting. You're always self-reflecting. Hey, I just did that, and it had this reaction. Or that person said something to me, and I felt the way. Or, man, whenever that person put their hand on my shoulder, I just didn't feel like I could trust them. Like these types of small things within your life is being conscious. Now, the reason I wanted to move into consciousness, because all of this is going to tie together, because what we're really talking about from the anatomy standpoint is that you're actually 100% made from consciousness. God is consciousness. God is thought. God thought of everything. So we are beings that are only conscious. Forget this human body thing, right? The human body's consciousness is working off of your consciousness, going back to what I said about your body hears you as the voice of God. So when you speak to your body and you say, I ain't nothing, I'm terrible, how dare you do that? I can't believe you did that. Of course, look how stupid I am. These types of phrases, I can't. They're telling your body, your consciousness, the frequency within you, every atom, every cell, nope, we can't. We sure can't. And your body will be like, and we won't. Because it's listening to you. Now, one of the best things about this whole concept is understanding that it gets a little bit deeper. And before I go into cymatics, I wanted to show you how deep it gets. Who knows what a cell looks like? Like one cell in your body. You guys know what it looks like? Well, it has a body. But let me just explain that you have many cells. Your muscle cells and your skin cells are different from your organ cells. They're different from your heart cell. They're different from your intestinal cells. They're different from your brain cells. You have so many different cells in your body. It's like a little community. It's like a universe of different things living together, working as one. It's kind of like how you see in the stars, right? You see a bunch of stuff, but it's one, right? It's one system. The Milky Way galaxy is one system, but it's a lot of bodies. So your cells are alive. They're conscious. They know that they're inside of you. And the best part about it is inside of it, it has its own ethos. It has mitochondria. It has ribosomes. It has things inside of it that it needs to keep it alive. So it has its own internal organs, things like it does for us. So no matter how far you go, you get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. Now let me just go to the nucleus of the cell. Inside of the nucleus is where our chromosomes live. We all hear about that, right? The chromosomes, the genes and all that, right? It's inside the nucleus. The chromosome is made up of atoms because it's DNA. If you actually take a chromosome, it's tightly wound DNA. And it winds itself through electromagnetic frequencies that causes balance within the body, negative and positive poles. And it creates chromosomes, which give you your whole body. So the code of the DNA is actually put together by atoms. That's it, atoms. Atoms, what are they? Electromagnetic frequencies that specifically have a design based on their function and their speed and their velocity. So a carbon atom doesn't move as fast as a higher functioning atom. And it's also smaller. A hydrogen atom is really small because it only has one electron. Now, these atoms put together in pairs make a code, and that code makes you. Now, who's ever heard of the mustard seed, right? What does that mean to you? What is the parable, right? What is the scripture? Half foot what? Yeah. You can move mountains if you have faith in the mustard seed, right? Okay, now let's just be actual. Yeshua was stating the mustard seed specifically because that's the smallest physical seed he can give to people to help them understand. But he's really talking about the atom. Have faith in the atom and you can make universes. You can make this picture, you can make that speaker, you can make a human body, you can make a sun, you can make a galaxy, you can make a one single cell organism if you have faith in the atom. If you have faith in the atom, you can tell the mountain to move because the mountain is atoms. Right? Have you thought about that? Well, how about this though? How about have faith in your own atoms? Have you thought about that? Have you put yourself in a position or in a state of consciousness where you said, you know what, I'm going to have faith in myself and all the atoms that make me up? Because atoms are specifically electromagnetic frequencies that are only energy based. So we're not even physical, we're energy. Atoms are light, we're light. Why do you think Christ says that all the time? We're light beings, period. Whenever you hear someone say that, don't think it's just like a metaphysical, metaphorical thing. You actually are only made from light. And the light is so intelligent that it choreographs a code for you to believe that you're physical. Now that's genius. That's genius, right? It's crazy amazing. Now, the reason I say that is because in order for you to understand what I'm about to show you next, you have to understand that you're made of atoms, and you have to understand that everything in the universe is made of atoms, which means everything in the universe is a frequency and a vibration. We also know it as, what did God say first? No. It was before the light. I what? I am? What do you think I am means? God spoke I'm trying to get y'all to say it. God spoke the word. The first thing in Genesis, God spoke the word. I am. What do you think the word is, though? Most people think it's like a word in English, right? The letter W-O-R-D in phrases. But what do you think what do you think it meant by that? The word. What are we talking about? Sound. Frequencies. God said, I am, and he spoke the word. What that translates into, God made a noise that defined itself. The word. And if we look at it from the terms of frequencies and vibrations, now it kind of makes sense. God spoke frequencies and vibrations to create the entire universe. And then he said, let there be light. Day 2. But that's a whole nother conversation once again. But in order for you to understand that, I wanted to point back to the word and point back to vibrations and frequencies, because what I'm about to show you is the study of what is called cymatics. And cymatics is whenever you look at sound on a 2D plane to comprehend that sound has geometrical structures that is sacred and God designed it. I need y'all to hear that. God designed everything, right? But he designed something that we just now found out about. Our ancient ancestors knew about it, but we just got it with our technology. And it's called cymatics. So cymatics, I'm not going to read all that. It's the study of sound in water or a material substance. What I'm going to show you is a video of how the frequency that this guy is going to use through this machine is going to determine the shape that is created. So every sound has a shape. Now, I don't know what that looks like that. Is this the power button or is this red button do something? Does it turn stuff off? Come on now. So on you guys up there on the monitor, do you see like a little, can you click play on the YouTube? Nothing? Go, okay. That would be terrible if we can't see this video, because it's the whole point, right? Talking about consciousness. And I say what? Well, while we're waiting, any questions about any of this information that I've spoke about so far? I know there's a lot. Cortisol, sympathetic nervous system, stress, parasympathetic, who breathes, who meditates, right? Who takes time to get to know themselves and ask questions. How about this, Christian? How about if I send you a link? Could you just stream it? No? Okay. Well, we're just going to work through it. So if it's going to be kind of difficult now, because I actually needed you to see this, because it's amazing and it literally is going to blow your mind. It's going to change everything that you thought about yourself, because what it shows you is that God is everywhere. But I'll just be really good at describing right now, since I can't play the actual video. So when you have frequencies, and what we would see is that they would put a metal plate and pour salt on it, regular salt, table salt, and then they would turn the frequency. But what you would see is the salt would make geometrical structures. It'd make like perfect symmetry. The higher the frequency, the more beautiful it looked. The more lines, the more triangles, the more angles, the more circles, it's amazing. And what you see is that everything based on what God said, the word, spoke the word, creates sound, it creates shape, it creates life. But now, I want to turn that back on the fact that we are made from atoms, right? And we are vibrating. Now, I'm curious to know, what does your sound look like? Because whenever you play frequencies that are in distortion, they're not perfect anymore. They actually are kind of scattered, and you can't really make out what is. You really see that there's distortion. It's oh, that's not perfect. But the thing is, right now, in our society, things aren't perfect. So we are vibrating and creating geometry, or a matrix, if you would, that is not in the natural aspect of the earth or God. And what we're here to do is to get our vibrations right. Because once one of us holds the key, like Yeshua, he held the one, it just needed just one. He held the light for all of us. He held the vibration for all of us. And now we can hold that same vibration and move into the earth. And going back to, I'm not sure who said it earlier, but they were talking about when you walk into a room and you feel it. That's because you actually have a bubble around your body that your heart is creating. You have your own electromagnetic field. And it's creating a geometrical pattern based on your thoughts, feelings, and emotions. So if you're not thinking healthy thoughts, your geometrical vibration is not perfect and aligned. Now let's think about this though. Going back to when you walk into a room, right? And you can feel, you're like, man, it feels a little, I don't know about that. Or you walk somewhere and you see a person, you be like, I don't feel that. That person feels a little, for one, that is your gut brain talking to your heart brain, because that's the first brain. I didn't get to that part. But your heart brain is what's producing the magnet. Your heart is the first thing that's formed in utero. All y'all women know because y'all were there when they did the ultrasound, and they was like, there's your baby. And you're like, where? You're like, look at the little small heartbeat. It's your baby right there. You're like, but it don't got nothing. There's no arms, no legs, just a, they're like, yeah, that's the baby. But it's the heart. It's the heartbeat. That's all. The heart is not even there yet. It's just the heartbeat. And it's called the intrinsic cardiac nervous system. It's a brain inside of your heart. What is the scripture? The gateway to heaven is through the kingdom of heaven is through the heart of a child. Who's the child? We all are, right? Where should we be focusing? On our heart. We do too much of this. We think that this is the brain that's running things. This ain't the brain. This brain is made to process information. It's not made to actually decide what's best for you. It's only there to say good or bad. But your intuition and your heart is a knowing, right? When you know something and you're led somewhere, you hear you from here. You from here, not here. You don't intellectualize the knowing. No, you just know, because it's a type of intelligence that's way beyond your brain's comprehension of data. But let me get back to the point, back to the heart. Your heart is producing a magnetic field. And based on the way that you feel about yourself and the world around you will determine what that magnetic field looks like. But what does magnets do? They do two things. And they attract and repel. So if you're in a situation where you're not aligning with God correctly or yourself, what are you going to attract? Who's ever heard a person say, every time I date somebody, that's just like the same thing? I don't know if the planet is doing that to you, or coincidence, but it sounds like you're attracting that, right? Or whenever some good stuff happens, it repels from you. That's because you don't believe that you deserve it. That's 100%. If you're not receiving the blessings and the things that you are looking to have, God already said yes. He's waiting on you, right? To deserve it. But you got to have faith in your atoms, right? You got to have faith in your body. You got to have faith in your mind and emotions. And you have to know that you deserve it. No matter what it is, you can have it. God will just show it up on your doorstep. I've manifested and materialized things to the point, even with my son. One day we were walking down the street in Brooklyn, New York, and I say, yo, son, let's manifest some money before we get down to the end of this street. And sure enough, me and this kid, he wasn't born yet, but me and this kid walking down the street, money right on the floor. The first thing he said, let's go get a hot and ready, Little Caesars. He wanted a pizza immediately. But I was like, yo, that's awesome. We just did that. We did that. Like, look at what we did. We had faith back here. And we said, by the end of this street, we're going to manifest this, because we aligned with God. We aligned with ourselves, and we started walking. Well, you know what we didn't do? We didn't walk without faith. We was like, I don't know, though. I don't see it yet. Nope, not going to happen. God ain't doing it. We didn't do none of that. We didn't look around. We didn't ask questions. We said, before the end of this block, it will be there. And we just walked and enjoyed a nice conversation while we walked to the end of the block. And literally right before the end of the block, it was there. Now that's a metaphor to think about how you do every day in life, right? Are you walking in faith every day? Or, because faith can also be toxic. But the beautiful thing about faith, it's always a yes. Let me explain. I'm not nothing. I'm terrible. Faith would be like, yeah. I can't do that. I'm not good enough. I can't get that job. I'm not qualified. Faith would be like, yeah, word up. Show you right. But then if you switch it, I am worthy. I deserve it. Yeah, you do. Faith only says yes, even to negative situations. Faith does not have a bar on what side of the fence it lives on. Faith is only saying yes, because faith is coming from God. And God is always yes. You deserve it. I love you. The heaven's all yours, right? And so with that said, I'm going to just bring it full circle real quick. I wanted to show you about the anatomy because I wanted you to connect with your body. It's important that you connect with your body. Listen to your body. It will tell you. Christian described it earlier when he was talking about his journey. He listened to himself. But then, like Melina said, boundaries, right? You got to set boundaries for yourself. Hey, I know that if I go in this situation, I'm most likely going to do X, Y, and Z. So let's just cut that one out, right? Let's set a boundary. But then it's also about understanding your emotions. FYI, emotions are superpowers. We've been told they're weakness, the things that women do. I'm sorry to say this, gentlemen, but the whole right side of your brain specifically processes emotions. So if you think you don't do emotions, you're only using half of your brain. I'm just going to say it. Don't use only half of your brain. It's terrible for the whole men. So understanding that emotions are your superpower, learning how to use them helps you to even control your space and the spaces that you walk into. When I walk into a room, I command it because I'm like, I'm God's son. What are you talking about? I'm here. God told me to be here, so I'm here. I'm God's son. And if I'm feeling a way, I'll check my emotions before I get into that space. It's called emotional intelligence. I'll tell myself, hey, you were kind of snappy with that guy earlier. What's going on? Hey, did you notice that you reacted a little harsh towards that cash register person? Or did you know that you looked at that person right there and you judged them as they walked by? How many times we've done that, right? Those things cause cortisol in your body. Let's just say that again. Now, empowering yourself through your emotions helps you to understand eating things that destroy your body, you suddenly won't want anymore because they don't serve the emotion. Everything we do is from emotion. But going back to the consciousness, the vibration, the frequency, we are more than just a human body. And I'll prove it to you right now. If you close your eyes and you were to say, hello? Who's saying it? Is it your brain? Who's observing that? I know, right? Crazy question. I see everybody like, what's going on? What are you talking about? But seriously, that's how we know that we are more than just this concept of a human. Because when I do close my eyes and I do see something in my mind, I'm not creating it in my mind. It's coming from somewhere else. It's coming from the part of me that's still connected with God. Because what is God? God is thought. And if God is thought and he created thought, that means we're thought. And if we're thought, we can have thoughts. And if we can have thoughts, our thoughts would do the same thing that God did, which is create something. So if you're thinking poorly, you're creating something. No matter what, period. If you're not owning that, then it's going to just continue. You will always see the world as it is. And the moment you change your perception is the moment you rewrite the chemistry in your body, but it's also the moment that you see the world differently. And if you live in love, suddenly all the other stuff just washes away. But with that said, that is a lot of information. And if I talk anymore, it's going to really throw you off. So I'm just going to stop here. But I wanted to leave you with this one thing. I'm a big fan of meditation. I'm a big fan of self-inquiry. So I want to just do a really quick meditation with you so I can show you how to remove yourself from the sympathetic into the parasympathetic. And it's going to take only 17 seconds. So first, if you want to, close your eyes. If not, just stare at a place in front of you. And I want you to take a real deep breath in, into the belly button, into the chest. And as you exhale out, I want you to just let your shoulders drop, let your jaw drop. And I want you to say to yourself, I'm safe. Take another deep breath into the belly, into the chest. As you exhale, you say, I love you. And then with another deep breath, and as you exhale, you say, I love you too, God. Now I want you to witness your chest. Witness the feeling that you have in your body. Notice how you're calmer. Notice how something has changed within your physiological structure. You have the power to heal based on what you're doing. Take the time to recognize how much stress you have going on. Take the time to remove yourself and let it go. Let it go. Because if not, it's killing you. Like Melina said, you are responsible for yourself. If you choose to hold on to resentment, people, trauma, you're killing yourself slowly. It's nobody's responsibility, and no one's accountable for helping you heal. It's just you. So the relationship you have with yourself, the relationship you have with God, the oneness of that idea will set you into the right paradigm. If you ask and you shall receive. If you need knowledge, you will receive it. I just need you to trust yourself and know that from the foundation of you, you are atom, you are frequency, you are beautiful, and you are perfect. And with that said, I'd like to thank the church and the pastor for having us here. I'd like to thank Christian for having all this together and all the speakers. I am grateful. And I'm so just appreciative of all you. So thank you very much for your time.
So let me just again thank Christian for inviting us to be a part of this wellness conference. And Omar, you are right. I think we need a lesson on this clicker here. But it looks like mine. I think I'll be able to manipulate that. Yep, that's just where I want it, right there. So again, thank you, Christian, for inviting us. In the time that's allotted to us, I want to share with you just 7 principles to reset your life in this new year. Now, here's my disclaimer. These principles are not originally mine. I borrowed them from one of my mentors, the Reverend Dr. Joseph Walker III, Nashville, Tennessee, in his weekly podcast, Next Level Leaders. Yet I am excited to share these principles with us because they are transferable to any genre, and it gives us a roadmap to understanding where you are and where you are going. So the first principle is you have got to discover your starting point. What this means is, it's been alluded to already, just like when using your navigation system in your vehicle or on your smart device. Before you reach your destination, you must first determine where you are. In life, we must be honest with ourselves concerning where we are. If you don't know where you are, you really have no concept of the distance to where you are trying to go. Part of the process of resetting is being honest with yourself and having a clear understanding of where you are. You have to ask yourself the tough questions. Where are you spiritually? Where are you financially? Where are you with your business? Where are you with your family? Where are you with your health, etc.? Really think through that. Write it down. Just ask yourself, where are you now? The second principle to reset a new year is equally important as the first, and that is really ask yourself, how did I get to where I am? How did I arrive at this place? The truth is, there are a series of experiences that got you to where you are now. And you must honestly recount those experiences. We must look at, how did I arrive at this place? How did I get to where I am now? What series of events led me to this place? Was it loss? Was it an adjustment? What was it? Was it a natural move, or was I forced into this space and I'm just trying to get out of it by any means necessary? If it's an issue of escapism, I may be running from something God might be developing me in. So take your time and process that. How did I get where I am? The third principle to reset a new year is equally as important as the first two, and that is really ask, what would you have done differently? What would I have done differently had I had the opportunity to do it all over again? What decisions would I have made? You know, there is nothing like introspection. There is nothing like reassessing your decisions so that you don't repeat the same mistake. So for me, what would I have done differently as senior pastor? I probably would have staffed differently, among a plethora of other things. So now, it is important that we have these kinds of reflective moments so we don't repeat the same mistakes. Here's the fourth principle to reset a new year is, and this fourth principle is just as important as the first three. Here it is. What did you learn about yourself and your team if you're in a leadership position? This is so important. What have you learned about you? Let's just start right there. What have you learned about you? What have you learned about yourself over the last 12 to 24 months? What have you learned about your capacity, your stress level, your ability to be creative and innovative? What have you learned about your willingness to really move vision forward? Your patience, your spiritual growth. What have you learned about your prayer life? What have you learned? What have you discovered about you? Self-realization is one of the most powerful tools of leadership. When you are able to learn about who you and how you became who you are, that's an amazing thing. Let me say that if you are in a leadership position, what have you learned about your team? What have you learned about your staff? What have you learned about the people that are making your vision come to fruition? Here's the fifth principle to reset a new year. Here it is. Develop a strategy for where you are going. You want to put yourself in a position that you take time out to chart the path forward. Let's go back to the navigation system in your vehicle or on your smart device. You look at that starting point and say, how long will it take me to get to my destination? What are the steps necessary? And then who are the people that needs to go along with me? What kind of resources do I need to accomplish this goal? Now, granted, this takes time. You cannot rush trying to get to this space, but you have got to have a unique strategy. And when you develop that strategy, you stick with it. You don't bend to the left or the right, but you stay focused on that strategy. You don't allow people's emotions or the next new thing to cause you to waver from your strategy. Just stay the course to what God has given you to do, and you will reach your destination. This is important, developing a sound strategy for where we are going. When you develop a sound strategy, you will get people to where they need to be. The strategy is the roadmap that the people follow to be in the right place. The strategy is the game book. And if people understand the playbook, they understand where they're supposed to be on the field and what they need to do. When there is no playbook, people just go out and they're just playing. I'm from Chi-Town, and we just be playing scrimmage in the middle of the street. There are no plays. It's just run down the field and let's see who gets the ball. But I'm here to tell you that that's not how you're going to get to where you're going. You've got to have a very intentional, focused strategy and put people in the right positions in the right place in order to get where you're trying to go, which is a great segue to the sixth principle to resetting the new year. And this sixth principle may be more for those in leadership positions, but here it is. Position the right people in the right place. If you're going to get to where you're going to have people where they should be. Here's what I mean by this. Some people's personalities are not suited for certain positions. There are some people who like to work by themselves, away from other people. And there are other people, they enjoy those interpersonal relationships. I'll give you an example. We have several ministries here at the St. John Church, and there are some members who like working alone. Those are the people you put behind computers. They're data entry persons. They do what they do. And if you take people who are not necessarily relational and you put them in a ministry like an usher or a greeter's ministry, then you run into frustration because these people are not in a position consistent with who they are personality-wise. Do you see how this works? So let's review before we get to our last and final principle. Number one, the first principle in resetting the new year is to understand you are here, where you are. This is your starting point on your navigation map. You have to be honest about the place where you are financially, emotionally, spiritually, relationally, and otherwise. Where are you? Number two, how did you get to where you are? What decisions did I make? What things did I do that caused me to be in the place where I am today? Number three, what would I have done differently? What would I have done that could have changed the course of my life for the better? Number four, what did I learn about myself? What did I learn about my team? What are the things that experience has taught me about me and my team. And then number 5, I developed the strategy for where I am going. I'm not just throwing something in the wind, but I'm actually putting a strategy together to say we're doing this, then that, then this, then that. And then give some rationale as to why we're doing it. Because the strategy becomes the roadmap. And for number 6, positioning the right people in the right place. The right people in the right place means that I've got to make sure people are in a position to win. Because here at the St. John Church, we don't produce losers. We produce winners. And I got to make sure that people are in a position to win. This means aligning people with ministries based on their personality. Here's the final principle to reset a new year. Here it is. Always get better. Every day the Lord wakes you, that day ought to be better than yesterday. And tomorrow ought to be better than today. I always need to get better than the day before. The Bible teaches us that it is God who takes us from glory to glory, from strength to strength. We should always strive to get better. Well, that's it. I hope these 7 principles to reset a new year will be a blessing to you as you reset your goals for this year. I leave this with you. I want you to know that you will reach your goal. You will reach your goal. We had a lot of information here today, and one thing that's resonating with me is that you get the knowledge, you need to apply it. God bless you. Thank you, Christian, for allowing us to share.
All right. I pray that God blesses this knowledge in your head and allow you to be able to apply it and spread it to other people. Tell somebody else. You don't have to be selfish with it. And that he gives you the wisdom and the knowledge to be able to apply it and make your life better. I love you guys. I appreciate everybody who come out and stayed. God bless you, and I hope you have a great day.
Thanks again for watching. I pray that we can grow together. I want to transform your life just like I transformed mine. So please subscribe, share, and don't forget to hit that notifications button. I'll see you soon. God bless.